What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 721 of the Smark Moment Smack Talk Podcast Hot Tags of the Week. I am Tony Mango, joined as always by Callum Wiggins.
Hello.
And Robbie Fleece.
Hey.
And of course, all of you that are listening and joining us in on this. So thank you for tuning in. And we always want to know what you have to say, so drop your comments below. Make sure that you keep in mind that if you are on YouTube in particular, hit the like button, subscribe, ring that notification bell, get your email alerts set up for post shows and other kind of live content. We'll have a post show immediately following NXT No Mercy tomorrow night. So that'll be the next time around. And if you want to help us on the monetary side of things, it's outside of those things, then make sure that you hit the thanks button or the join button over there on YouTube too and sign up for those different tiers. Keep in mind that the $5 and up tiers have early access to content that we post in advance. So if you want to check out those tier list rankings that we have going on, where we did 3 of them already, and we're going to do another one of them sometime soon for the WWE men's roster. If you want to check them out before they go live, then that is how you get the early access to that stuff. Patreon.com/SmarkOutMoment. Also, the exact same tiers for that. Redbubble and TeePublic, where you can get your merchandise. And another place for you to chat it up is our Discord server. So check out those channels over there and sign up and join in that community. Always come one, come all kind of approach. Tier list stuff and all that stuff out of the way, though. Let's get into these hot tags. We got actually a lot to talk about today. Some weeks we have like almost nothing going on, and then this is one of those weeks where it's like, all right, here's like 19 topics or something. So I guess if we're getting into this, we're going to be bouncing around quite a bit, and I might as well start off with this PWI 500 list for the 2025 list that they've got going on. And we've covered this before in the past, and we always want to say the same kind of thing. These lists don't ultimately matter all that much. And even when it comes to like Smart Guy Moment, we have our own lists that we value more because it's our opinions instead of other people's. But the PWI breakdown, they have different factors that they put into how they rank people, and it's during a different time frame. I've never been a big fan of the whole like July to August thing. I always think that that's like a weird time to be like doing the cutoff. You should try to do like WrestleMania to WrestleMania, or like the way that we do at the Smark Out Moment Awards, which is like January to December of a particular year, But the full 500 list is out there. We're obviously not going to break down every single one of them. I wouldn't even be able to tell you. I'm assuming 60%, if not more, of who these people are. Some of them even in the top 30. Like, I don't know who Ozawa is. I don't think I've ever heard that name before. Couldn't tell you anything about whoever Luke Jacobs is. But the top 10 at least, or maybe we'll talk some other ones here and there though. Number 1 is Cody Rhodes. Number 2 is Jon Moxley. 3 is Gunther. You got Hangman Adam Page, Hiroki Goto, Jey Uso, Swerve Strickland, Seth Rollins, Mystico, and Will Ospreay rounds out the top 10. Plenty other names that are well known, CM Punk, Zack Sabre Jr., Jacob Fatu, etc. in that top 25 or whatever. Number 25 is Masha Slamovich. We'll be talking about her for a different thing a little bit later on. This is ranked on a lot of factors, but it's primarily just based off of like kayfabe rankings of who champions that are at the top are and stuff. I see why they rank certain people in the way that they do, and then some other people I'm like, okay, that just, now it loses all of its kind of credibility in my mind. Like, I don't think I would rank LA Knight necessarily number 22 over some people, and I like LA Knight. I don't see any real justification behind Effie being higher than Dirty Dominic Mysterio. Marcus Mathers is higher up than like Drew McIntyre, and people like Shinsuke Nakamura is number 63. Like, what did Nakamura do for the most part? So to me, it's sort of just a wash of like, whatever. But a lot of people care about that.
Wasn't Nakamura a U.S. champion for a little bit?
if he was, oh well, like I forget about that,
He definitely was, but yeah, these lists are subjective, and this list in particular tries to get like a heavy mix of kayfabe in with like actual number of matches wrestled, which is where I think somebody like a Marcus Mathers gets high up there because he probably wrestled a lot, especially for an independent wrestler. But there's people are going to debate these things, and they love it every year. People love debating this. But from a wrestling standpoint, just bell to bell, the fact that like Joe Hendry being above Zack Sabre Jr. is weird to me. Ospreay, I kind of feel like should have been top 5. You can debate these things all day long.
Yeah, it's just a list of like that's very very heavily based in kayfabe, and yeah, you take one look at it from different lenses, and I immediately kind of discredit it. But it's whoever's put these together, it's their opinion, so I don't really put too much stock into it. I'm not gonna like and ah over this person should be higher than this person, blah blah blah, because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter.
Number 500 is Cereal Man.
You're damn fucking right it is.
And it's like, okay, well,
which is sad because breakfast should really come first.
Somehow, whoever this Cereal Man isn't that far off away from Cheeseburger, and like we got like a full meal going on here. If I'm just sure Cappuccino Jones is somewhere on here.
Yeah, you could have a cappuccino with breakfast. I wouldn't do cappuccino and cereal, but
Yeah, Cappuccino Jones is number 400 apparently.
Hellboy is on this list.
A lot of women on the list too.
Well, it's for ones that wrestle intergender matches primarily,
right? And there's names again. Like there's so many names that I've never heard of before. Hoodfoot or Michael Allen, Richard Clark. Or whatever.
That's a great name.
It is what it is. It's strange to me to see the names that I do know, where like Bryce Donovan from Evolve is 1 spot above EC3 and 2 spots below Pete Dunne. And you're like, wow, okay, so Pete Dunne, man, falling down that rabbit hole to be 200 something and right at the same bracket as Evolve people, but that's because they don't use him.
What did he do this year? He spent the last year being like, I'm mad that I was Butch.
Yeah.
I'm still mad that I was Butch.
Number 468, Toho Loon.
I love Toho Loon.
It could be worse, but like Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate didn't even make the 500.
Oh, he didn't?
Well, yeah, he was out. He was injured.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I guess the more interesting is like the names that didn't make it. Roman Reigns isn't on this list. Because he didn't wrestle enough.
He didn't wrestle enough. That's interesting because that's important. Like that I do think is important historically because you can look back and go, okay, so they couldn't even rank him on this. This is when he really slowed down.
Yeah. And when it comes to the back and forth of like, do you think that Cody should be above Moxley, or do you think that Obafemi should be above Bandito, or like whatever it might be? Debate them in the comments if you're interested. We're not particularly like number 32. It's Randy Orton, and number 31 is Yota Tsuji. So he should be 16. What the other one should be, whatever. Like, we'll have our end of the year awards. We'll talk about the people we liked and all. And obviously, that's not going to apply to people from companies we've never watched. And none of us are watching NWA. None of us are watching these like local indies or whatever. But Cody Rhodes being number 1, sure, why not? If it was Jon Moxley, sure, why not? The list doesn't mean anything for us. One of the things that does mean things for us, though, are trademarks. And we have 2 different trademarks that have been put out there for this week that, it's harder and harder to track these trademarks for some reason. I don't know why. But I did see some reports about WWE trademarking Invasion again. and AEW trademarking, which I'm more interested in, Bacon Brawl. So I would assume Invasion is probably just going to be the most obvious thing of the NXT and TNA thing. So we'll probably get some kind of, WWE NXT Invasion pay-per-view is coming up at some point, or some special TV show or whatever it might be. They do have Halloween Havoc already announced, and that is the next one, unless they're going to cram one extra in there. But maybe at the end of the year, or maybe in November, December, whatever it might be. Maybe that's when we get NXT and a Invasion, whatever. Bacon Brawl, I have no fucking idea what that could be.
You're very interested in the bacon, Tony.
I mean, I love bacon. Bacon's great.
I don't think this is like a replacement for Meat Madness. It could be, because they did drop that trademark. So this could be a replacement for Meat Madness. It's extensively funnier if it's the Bacon Brawl. I don't know. Maybe this is like a partnership thing, like in any given arena, or maybe it's instead of the tailgate brawl for this one, we're doing the Bacon Brawl because we're
sponsored by
Oscar Mayer.
Yeah, Jimmy Dean or something.
I don't think it is to do with that, because specifically the when the promotion filed for those trademarks, they're listed under goods and services relating to cookware, merchandise, and food. So it's nothing to do with like naming an event Bacon Brawl or something along those lines. For a
cookware line, though, you don't think AEW is going to release like, hey, get your limited edition John Moxley Bacon Brawl frying pan?
I mean, it says here specifically non-electric cookware, namely pots, pans, dishes, flatware being plates and saucers, drinkware, cups, mugs, utensils for barbecues, namely forks, tongs, turners, kitchen containers, shirts, pants, t-shirts, sweatshirts, shorts, headwear, footwear, socks, undergarments, prepared meals consisting primarily of meat, fish, poultry, or vegetables.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that like it's going to be all of those things. They're like different set groups that you have to like comply these things under. But the article look at here says that it's related to, well, it could be related to this All Elite Feast thing they trademarked in July, which is their partnership with White Castle for like an AEW Elite Feast meal that they offer at White Castles. So
I like it.
I imagine they're just trying to branch out and just do other things. Like, how WWE tried to do things for like the restaurant business as well. So, these things probably won't be successful, because they never are when it comes to wrestling promotions trying to do things that aren't professional wrestling. But, we'll just see how it goes for them.
Yeah, I can't fault them for taking some kind of sponsorship deals or whatever. And if this does end up being one of those things where they try to do a match based off of it, WWE does that all the time. And sometimes that can be pretty fun. Sometimes it can be absolutely ridiculous and really like, why is The Miz being attacked by zombies? But like, if they want to do like the Bacon Brawl to tie into, the Slim Jim tables that WWE has and stuff. If they do a Bacon Brawl and they've got people all with barbecue gear and being slammed through a grill and whatever, like, yeah, it could be fun. Whatever the fuck. Wrestling's goddamn ridiculous.
Also, AEW has also kind of cornered the market a little bit on the meat chance when it comes to like matches taking place. So. They
pretty much took that Big E thing and ran that way further than WWE ever tried. So.
Poor Big E. That's his legacy, and he couldn't even cash in.
Yeah. Maybe he could be part of the Bacon Brawl. I don't know. But I'm interested to see where they go with that, just because the name sounded absolutely ridiculous to me when I was reading that. I was just like, wait, Bacon Brawl? Okay, are we going to get Full Gear and then Bacon Brawl instead? Continental Classic is changing quite a bit. Now it's the Continental Breakfast or something. Invasion, same thing.
That's really stupid.
It's pretty funny.
They have to announce Serial Man for that.
Yeah, that's good. That little pun came out mid-sentence for me. I didn't think about that at the time. So soon as I said Continental Classic, I was just like, wait, breakfast, yeah. My brain's just like, throw the pun out there. It's great. As far as like other names of shows, another name of something that we know exactly what it is WWE EVOLVE Succession. And this is not something that is going to be game changing or whatever, but it was announced on Evolve at the beginning of this episode this week that they are going to have on Wednesday, the 15th of October, a quote unquote like special event on Tubi, aka it's another episode of Evolve, but it's just going to be a special episode of Evolve the way that like NXT Homecoming was, or, you know, AEW just had September to Remember, where this is the same TV show, but they gave it a name and then they put some matches on there that are like better than normal. So we know that both the men's and the women's Evolve championships are going to be on the line. We actually know now who Callie Armstrong is defending against. That is Kendall Gray after she beat Chantel Monroe. And the men's championship is going to be Jackson Drake against either Brooks Jensen or Keanu Carver, which for the most part seems like it's going to be Keanu Carver because they're building that guy up way more. So this is Evolve's first little like mini pay-per-view thing, and you know, good for them. I don't think a single person out there is really going to be like, I've never watched Evolve, but I'm going to check out this one, because they wouldn't even know unless it was somebody like me talking about it. But hey, you know, that's a step in the right direction. So, you know, good for them. It's a shame that it's a really bland, boring ass name, because who's like, oh, I can't wait to watch WWE Evolve Succession. Like, they got to stop doing this thing where they just go to Rhyme Zone or just ask ChatGPT, give me synonyms for evolve, and you know, they're like, well, we can't use progression and we can't use continuation, so let's use succession. Blah. The same as like TNA Genesis and all that. Do the cool things. Like Lockdown was a cool name for TNA, but I don't know. I don't like the name Succession. They should do better than that. I'm sure I'll be the only one that watches it. So we don't even need to dive deeper into that.
At some point, I will watch Evolve.
You should. I think that you'd be today.
I'd be the one that would
surprised.
like it out of all of us, so I'm surprised I don't watch it.
Yeah, I think you'd be surprised about it. Like, it's not all that bad. It's just that there's people that aren't all that great, and how much fucking wrestling can you really watch? So
yeah, that second part's the problem.
That's where I don't bother to actually watch it. I just, you know, skim, because I really don't fucking care when like Tate Wilder is like, I'm not quite ready for another match with Ridge Holland, and you're like, okay. And we're like Jax Presley and Harley Riggins are like, we're gonna have another match with Adrenaline Drip.
Cool.
Like one of their big storylines right now is Wendy Chu is talking.
Talking?
Wendy Chu.
Sleep talking.
No, not even sleep talking. She had an I quit match. So she said I quit. So now that she can say I quit.
Now that she can talk, she's
now she was like interviewed, and she was like, this is going to be harder than I thought. And they're like, wow, she said 9 words in a row. It's like, okay.
She was literally on the main show. See, that's what confuses me. These people were literally on the main show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Kendall Gray, Kylie Rae, like these other people that have been there before, and they're like, I came to Evolve for to advance my career. Like, you downgraded for that? Okay, never mind.
At least they have the excuse of they are early enough in their career that they should have started there to begin with. But still,
True.
What the hell?
Yeah, like if Brindley Reese or whatever would have been like coming in now, they would have put him in Evolve. But sucks for like a Timothy Thatcher, you know. But another Evolve-esque storyline that happened this week is we have our second in a month woman in WWE vacating a title due to pregnancy, because Kylie Rae, after just winning the WWE ID Women's Championship, hasn't wrestled a single other time because she's pregnant. So she already has relinquished that title. They haven't announced when, where, who's competing for it, that they're going to crown a new champion. But man, Kylie Rae either has like something going on where there's like an 8-month period or something. Every time that she starts somewhere, something gets derailed. And, you know, congrats on the pregnancy. Like, it's a good reason to not be able to defend this championship and all, but like, this girl cannot catch a break when it comes to like building momentum, because she was one of the, if not the top woman in Evolve going on. And it's like, they're building her up as like a big deal there. And now she's, you know, gone for another whole year. So that hits a complete reset button. And, you know, now the last thing that she did on the show was pre-taped. It was a match against, I think, Mason Holiday or Layla Diggs. It was Mason Holiday, I'm pretty sure. Being like, she's the Kylie Rae's the benchmark and all. And then they start a storyline and then they can't finish it. So I'm not invested in the ID championship because it's all taking place on shows that I would never be able to watch. But I'm kind of hoping that Zeta Steel wins that, because that makes the most sense in my mind. And
just win the Evolve title. Like,
I mean, she should just win that too. Yeah. Why not? I mean, Kelly Armstrong, you know, like, that's not a knock on Kelly Armstrong, but Zeta Steel has just as much personality, if not more. And anybody who's good on Evolve should just be on NXT anyway. Let's put it that way.
Congrats to Kylie. I think that's awesome for her and her family. And yeah, let's see if she chooses to continue after having this child, or if she wants to do motherhood full time, because I know this is not her first.
This is what, her second, or is this her third?
I believe it's her second. But hell yeah, as long as she's happy and they're all happy, kudos to them.
Happy's good.
Happy is good.
Good things are good. Another person that is not going to be seen on television, at least anymore, you know, Kylie Rae could be coming back, but seems like this person's gone entirely, is Jazmyn Nyx. And it's probably going to be a thumbnail, I'm assuming. Jazmyn Nyx was written off NXT this week. And we could have, you know, talked about this when we get into like the NXT recap and stuff, but I figured, you know, separate thing, why not? We know that she was written off TV not because of an injury or not because of just like the storyline purposes, that she is not going to be returning to WWE because they gave her a new contract, and the contract was basically the same as what it was before. And she said, that's not enough money. So they said, all right, well then adios. And she's since talked about it a little bit. I haven't checked out all of her statements, but she essentially, from what I've seen, has said, well, that just wasn't enough money. And I wasn't interested in continuing to be in this company and not making as much money as that. I don't fault her for that at all, you know, but at the same time, I do kind of wonder that if she was making $75,000 a year, according to some reports, and thinking that she potentially was worth $150,000, if I gathered that correctly, that seems high to me, considering I don't think that there's almost anybody that would be in NXT that would be making that much money. And just as far as pecking order is concerned, I don't think there's any argument whatsoever that Jazmyn Nyx should make as much money as the top people in NXT. Like, she was the number 3 person of her faction who barely wrestled all that much. And I could look at the roster page on smarkmoment.com, the handy dandy, you know, roster page that's over there. And even just in the women's division alone, there are at least a dozen people that I would consider to potentially be higher up than Jazmyn Nyx as far as like importance. Like, you're not going to get the argument from me that Jazmyn Nyx deserves to make as much money as Blake Monroe or Jordan Grace or you know, the champion JC Jane or Sol Rucka, or I would say, you know, Zarya, Fallon Henley, Jada Parker, Kalani Jordan. Like, The only people that I think that I would say she quote unquote deserves to make more money then would be like, Adriana Rizzo has barely wrestled because of injuries and stuff. Lainey Reed is pretty new, but it seems like she's going to be replaced by Lainey Reed. So if it's not her passion, and it doesn't quite seem like it was from my perspective, she's a soccer player and a model, so she'll go and do other things. Good for her for stepping away. She doesn't need to take bumps and not make as much money if she wants to make more money elsewhere. And to be honest, I don't think that anybody's really going to miss her from the roster. Swap some other people in.
Don't you discount those stands out there, pal.
They'll continue to follow her. They'll check out her, modeling career afterward or whatever. Yeah.
So I, first of all, think it's a very interesting time of transparency where she just came out and said, yeah, I'm leaving. I didn't like the offer, and that's that.
I appreciate that.
And I really like that too. As far as what she was offered and what she wanted, it does come across a little, funny to me that it's like, I think I should have been making more. I was working every Tuesday and also doing some stuff at TNA. And it's like, total respect, walk away, know your worth. But at the same time, I don't know if, like a Roxanne Perez would have walked away, or like, it just shows, WWE's going after these athletes. This is their mindset. So I think it's a good lesson overall for everybody.
I think there's a risk of misinterpretation when it comes to this, which is a sense of, obviously, the mindset that Tony and other people have led to is the case of like saying, oh, she wanted to be paid more, and justifying that against how much other women in the company that are definitely higher position than Jazmyn Nyx was definitely shouldn't be being paid more than those people. But she should be paid more, and all of those other people should be paid more.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that.
Yeah, so that's the kind of the rationale I want to take in the sense of, I don't think she's saying I should be paid more than Jordan Grace or Blake Monroe. Saying I should be paid more and loads of other people should be paid more because this is $1 billion company that severely underpays people that put their bodies and lives on the line every time they step into the ring.
Yeah, that I think everybody should be on board with, because fuck corporations,
And it's funny, I first of all completely agree, but I also felt like I saw the online reaction split into two camps, where you had the one camp saying exactly what Callum just said, and the one camp focusing on what Tony was saying, but they had the inability to understand that both things can be true. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know why people are like.
It comes down to the phone thing. Like this, it should be the case. Like there is a hierarchy, and the people that are the biggest draws and the best athletes and everything along those lines should be paid the most. And that's in any sporting or entertainment environment. You don't pay your lead actor the same as like an extra that's eating a hot dog on the side of the road as they walk past. Like you're not going to do that. But it's also the case that. But it's also a case that all these people could be earning more money. She could definitely be earning more money, probably doing other things as well. But it's more of a case of she doesn't want to take like injuries, bumps, especially in an environment where, especially over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of serious injuries affecting that NXT women's division. So why would she risk that and risk her ability to earn in any other sporting or any other endeavour that she wants to take on in the future? In an environment that not only, I think that just generally as a rosters and groups of people that don't get paid as much, and you do have those people like those Roxanne Perez's and people that are super passionate about pro wrestling, which is great, but it also means that you can often see yourselves be taken advantage of financially because you want to do this, and so you'll take the lowball offer because you get to do this.
I mean, play the Stephanie Vicaire quote.
Exactly.
They literally told her, according to the wrestler herself, they said, good luck in AEW. And I said, actually, I want to be here. I'll take the pay cut.
Yeah. So So yeah, and I'd say that's down to anybody's choice, and if they want to do that and that's what they're passionate about, then obviously not going to stand in their way. But it's more of a case of, yeah, there should be people that are paid more based on the amount of money the company is making, and that company is propped up on the performances of the people that work week in, week out. And yeah, you can say that, like, Jazmyn Nyx was only working Tuesdays, training in between that, and doing stuff on Saturdays. Well, most athletes only work once a week during the season that they're actually playing. And it's like, how much do they make in comparison? And I'd say WWE is not in the same stratosphere as things like the NFL or the NBA. They get paid huge amounts of times, like, so they definitely earn their money there. But like MLB or the Premier League in like the UK, and those people probably make what Jazmyn Nyx made in a year. They probably make that in 5 days. Those people. So like that's where you have the stratification. But WWE is a multi-billion-dollar company owned by a much larger conglomeration, which also incorporates the UFC as well. So there should be an incentive. There should be more. I'd say it depends what route they want to take. They can either take the route of pay people more money and convince people to stay. Even people like a Jazmyn Nyx that maybe never will reach that top level, but is good to have around for, to be a perennial jobber in the company or someone to help bring people through. Or maybe she does kick on and gets good, and then you've like made advice there. You either do that and you keep people around more long term, or you probably take, which I imagine, which with the WWE route of things, which you just do an endless cycle of bringing people in for 2-3 years at a time. And if they kick on, then in that time, then you sign them up to bigger contracts. And if not, you just let them go or let them walk away. Continue to give them those low ball offers and just bring in, your cavalcade of athletes every single like 2 or 3 years or so, and just cycle them in and out when they realise that this isn't for them.
Yeah. And, I mean, there's a certain level of like, who would they be willing to give a different deal to and like counter negotiate as well. And like, realistically speaking, Jazmyn Nyx wasn't bringing anything to the table that they don't have plenty other people that could fill in that role. So I could see in WWE's perspective, outside of the whole like argument of like, we're all in agreement, like, this corporations make too much money and they do the whole bullshit where it's like, well, we have record profits, but we need to up our prices and it's all goddamn ridiculous and stuff. So you're never going to hear an argument pro corporation on this podcast. that's evil people running the world. But that aside, if you just look at this within the bubble of like, this is what you're working with, and if you are tasked to not be able to make those decisions about paying everybody more, I 100% would understand WWE being like, we're giving you the same deal as opposed to a bigger deal, and not even necessarily giving her like, a raise at all in some ways, because realistically speaking, she was barely wrestling. She wasn't really progressing super fast. She wasn't really over with the crowd in the way that a lot of other people are, where like Jazmyn Nyx wasn't getting reactions. Let's put it that way. Like Fatal Influence gets reactions as a group, and then it's JC. And then I like Fallon Henley a lot, but realistically, I couldn't make the case that like Fallon Henley is making the waves as much as somebody like even a Lola Vice is. And Lola Vice might be making those reactions just because she's shaking her ass, but you know what? It's working for that crowd. And Jazmyn is in just as much of a spot as Ariana Grace, or, you can throw in a handful of people from Evolve and just be like, all right, well now, I mentioned Chantel Monroe or Zeta Steele or whoever. You put them into there and it's the same exact act. So I can see them being like, all right, well, we've got other Jazmyn Nyxes that we can have. But man, when it comes to somebody like a Sol Ruka, I don't know if we can find another Sol Ruka. So let's have a counter offer there, Then again, they have somebody like a Jordan Grace where it's like, okay, that's something different. And then you want to have her lose constantly. So it's like, okay, well, whatever.
I think wrestling is changing. on every level, and it's interesting to see how it's all going to shake out. Because on the one hand, there is the pure, like, hey, you said forever that this is a business and you want to run it like a business. Well, now these performers who don't have this undying love for this thing are getting smart to it and they want more money. At the same time, you're going to have internal wrestler conflict because, like, I'm willing to bet a JC or a Fallon would be like, yeah, are you really complaining about the workload when 5 years ago you would have been wrestling 6 days a week instead of 6 times a month?
Mm.
It's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah. So, I mean, shaking out is a good way to put it like that. Like, they're sifting through a lot of changes. And, yeah, this is just one example of somebody who has decided, you know what, I'm not going to bother to do that anymore. It's not either the money itself is the big deciding factor and just it's not worth it, or maybe she realized that she wasn't really particularly interested in continuing this career, and then the money on top of it was, if they would have given her double the amount of money, she'd stick around a little longer, but now it's not worth it. Let me explore some other things because I'm not that passionate about it. Or maybe, let's be honest, maybe she wasn't interested in it to begin with, and maybe she was just like, all right, well, they gave me an offer, let me try this WWE thing and boost my career, and she's gotten that, and you can't really fault somebody for that either if that's the case. Plenty of people do it, and there shouldn't be any kind of vilification if a woman does that versus if a man does that differently, because it seems like people target the women a little bit more for that. But, for all we know, Logan Paul is just like, I don't give a shit about this. This is just a means for me to make some money, and that's it. And if that's the case, whatever,
There's also like the other side of it where I believe she's already made content with her boyfriend where he's like trying to be a wrestler and they're like talking about it being, fake and stuff. So you could just you could just tell the passion wasn't there, and that's okay. But I do think I don't like the whole double speak thing where 1 minute, there's the famous quote that was supposedly about Ospreay with the grind to do what we do. And then you're like, yeah, but we want all these collegiate athletes because Tank Ledger is really going to light the world on fire. Like you can't, they will always want to try to have it both ways, and you can't have it both ways. You're better off picking one or the other.
I think you can have it both ways if you have realistic expectations, because you can't sign 50 people to the NIL thing and have 2 actually become an NXT talent. Now, Obafemi's great. Like,
I was saying, Obafemi is the benchmark.
He's like, one of the best people that they have in the company, I think, even at this point, not even just in NXT.
Agreed.
But like, for every Obafemi, there's been, 26 people like those Cavender twins who are like, wow, those Cavender twins are signed for WWE and we will never see them again after this announcement. Okay. So then why'd you sign them?
Because they were hoping so bad that they were going to get Bella's 2.0, but they ended up not even pursuing wrestling.
To me, those are the types that if they want to try to save some money, they need to not pay those people until they're actually training for them. Like, you can sign them to a look kind of deal and be like, you're interested in whatever, but I don't think you should toss any money towards somebody unless they're giving you something. And I don't even know how many people I used to keep track of with the NIL thing, where it was like, that person quite literally never debuted on a house show match. So what was the point, And that money, I think you save that and you give that to other people and you keep them around. Whether that's, in Evolve, whether that's in LFG, if it's in NXT, if it's main roster talent, if it's backstage crew, if it's the WWE website team that seemingly doesn't do their job anymore. but there's probably 2 people on the whole website that are doing everything like that. And then it's just like some Yahoo that doesn't understand that if you can click on things, you should be able to click on them.
Can't help yourself, can you?
It pisses me off so much.
Yeah.
But hey, they should hire me for many things. I'll take $75K a year to do the things that I can do. That'd be fucking great. Well, as far as Jazmyn Nyx not being on NXT anymore, somebody else that's not going to be on NXT for at least a while, if not ever again, is Masha Slamovich. And we can throw some TNA things all together in here. The beautiful people are going to be inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame. We got this Masha Slamovich thing to talk about, and we have TNA Victory Road predictions to get into.
Also, Mickie James.
Mickie James was confirmed too?
Yes, she was confirmed first.
Nice. I didn't see that one. Let me add that to there then. So before we talk about Slamovich and Victory Road, I guess let's quickly do the Hall of Fame thing. Mickie James, beautiful people. Yeah, makes perfect sense. These were, Mickie James is fucking great. And, one of the most overlooked and underrated, I think, women that are out there. Former champion, big deal in lots of different ways. And Beautiful People was an act that, like, arguably was one of the absolute top things that happened in TNA ever. Like, not when it comes to in-ring talent, but that duo coming out there and just being 2 hot chicks or whatever, people remember that way more than they do a lot of other people. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think these are 2 phenomenal picks. I think pivotal to the Knockouts division. The Beautiful People, when they were on, especially, were like a more interesting version of the diva type wrestlers where they could do more in the ring and were being allowed to do more in the ring than, a Kelly and a Maria, let's say, over on WWE. And Mickie James, I said this on social media, she's the best of her era. Like, I think she is the perfect, like, mid-2000s mainstream women's wrestler, and I think she deserves that induction, the WWE induction, and any other Hall of Fame induction anybody wants to give her.
Winner of the first ever Sexy Superstars tournament. Smart guy moment. So she gets that too.
Yeah, but I mean, those are two very good choices for the TNA side of things. I can't really add too much more beyond what you guys have already said, because it's like based on the people that have kind of helped make TNA over the years. Then these 2 kind of, the Beautiful People definitely in the early days. Mickie coming in a little later on after her WWE run. But that's like they both make sense for their contributions.
Do they usually have a certain amount of people that they do in the Hall of Fame every year?
It's usually just 1.
Just 1 person, that's it?
I think maybe in the last 2 years they've done 2 people, 2 different inductions, but it's mostly just been 1 at a time.
So we shouldn't expect to see like now there's going to be like a manager and like a top guy and then like a whatever.
I wouldn't expect a full WWE class.
Yeah.
So they've it varies from time to time. So the last couple of years they've done 2 at a time. So last year it was Rhino and Bob Ryder, a co-founder of TNA, went in at the same time, and the year before that it was Tracy Brooks and Don West and Mike Tenay.
Bob Ryder, any relation to Zack Ryder? So again, let's backtrack to the 2 other stories then that are TNA related. And we already talked about NXT No Mercy, so go back and check out the No Mercy talk that we did with the pay-per-view predictions and stuff if you're interested in like the full breakdown of NXT from this week, where we talked about like Lainey Reed's getting her title shot for the Speed Championship, blah 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 blah. We can skip over that now. But Masha Slamovich has been pulled from Victory Road, and the stuff that's come out since then has not painted her in a great light for continuing going forward. I saw one thing that said that her contract actually is coming up relatively soon.
That is from Fightful, yes.
So
She was pulled
that's
from Victory Road, and her contract was coming up soon anyway, and now obviously all that's up in the air.
I would assume that they would not re-sign her, and I would not anticipate that WWE would pick her up. And I don't think that AEW would be like, well, if you got this going on with your career right now, let's sign you. So bad timing for her to have all these things come out. But that's what happens when you're seemingly a bad person. Because from what I've gathered, and I'm doing this as somebody on the internet checking out stuff that's a very personal issue from two people that I do not know. So factor that all in there, keep all the grains of salt and whatever. Seems like she was in a pretty abusive relationship, and that the more that comes out about this, the more that it seems like it's almost one way more than anything else. And I'm sure that, there's instances where two sides are wrong or whatever, but at least the text messages that I had read and the different things that I had seen really kind of comes across more as like there's one bigger villain than the other. And there's been allegations and speculation and blah, blah, blah thrown out there that she has multiple addictions, that I don't know what this thing is about. Because these names like Akira, like I've never heard of this wrestler before that, she's dating or dated or whatever. So I have no context for that. But somebody else putting out stuff about like that thing that you've been hiding for 6 years, and that she's like homophobic and she's dating a, R-word, type of person, and not good. Any of this. None of this looks good for her, including the apology that she put out on Twitter that people ran through the test to see if it's AI generated, and apparently it was just 100% AI generated. So that probably means that she went to ChatGPT and said, write up a generic apology. And that doesn't help her case either,
Well, in that sense, I don't know. A lot of those checkers might not be super accurate. It might just be looking for like certain keywords and just say, normal human don't speak that way. Must be AI, But in any case, it wasn't
to be honest, I've never once checked anything that came back as like, 80% or higher or whatever as ChatGPT. That wasn't. I've done it for my own articles just to see if it would come out like that, and it'll come up like 0%, or it might come up like 10%. For it to be 100%, she didn't write that herself, especially because it's such generic language too.
So I think that, first of all, what she's accused of and what you see in the text messages are terrible. That's first of all. Second of all, I am glad that Akira seems to be in a better place mentally and emotionally. Because this stuff came out seemingly without his entire blessing. And he has since said, like, I would have kept this close to the vest my whole life. I would have, don't wish ill will on her. He's gone through it. So I feel bad for him first and foremost. That being said, I'm guessing she's, if not permanently, going to be blacklisted. It'll be a while before we see her. She won't be on Victory Road. They have replaced the match that she was going to have with a Hatch by Elegance. Will make an announcement. I don't know. It seems disgusting. The timing and the circumstances around it also seems gross, and the continued speculation on people's private matters seems gross. Not everything needs to be on the internet, is what I'm saying here. but it does seem like she was a genuinely bad person to him, and I'm glad that he is out of a seemingly abusive relationship.
Yeah, but from what I've seen from the text messages and the other information that's seemed to come out, and the kind of, I guess, backing up of these points from other people, like Akira's friends, kind of real condemnation of Masha Slamovich after their apology came out. I think it's, yeah, I'd say I think that she's now in a situation where, for the foreseeable future, she's going to be blacklisted from all but the, the sort of promotions that you don't want to get involved in until you have to get involved in, because there's no other option. So
control her narrative.
Yeah, whatever it ends up being, like there will be, as I say, there's always people that will book you for these shows if they think that you're like gonna draw some people that either think that you weren't in the wrong, or you were unfairly treated, or you were cancelled, quote unquote, for being a alleged domestic abuser and homophobe and all these other things that she's accused of. Yeah, as I say, I think that if what she's been accused of is entirely accurate, as I say, there's always like some wiggle room one way or the other, but it does seem like those text messages do feel pretty damning. Then yeah, she shouldn't work in professional wrestling again, because there are some things where you can get like a second chance for, like if you slip up, but this feels like, again, if all of this stuff that was said is accurate, then it seems like it was a long-term thing, and she's only apologising or only upset now because she got caught.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when it's that like that, then I don't think, it's not a case like you can't be redeemed, but you need to go on a long journey to do that. So I don't think we should be seeing her, and she shouldn't be paid to do this stuff for a long time. But she'll probably end up in like somewhere outside of the US and continue to work for promotions that don't really care as much about this stuff.
Some that even celebrate that stuff, unfortunately, because there's a lot of people in the world that are like, that's a good thing that you're a piece of shit, like,
on the libs.
Yeah, all those fucking jack-offs. So, I don't think she was planning to win that championship to begin with on this Victory Road card.
She was not. Like Sean Port flat out says she was not going to win.
Yeah, like it highly seemed unlikely that was going to just go back to her anyway. But, now she's not going to be a part of this NXT thing. And, there goes, like, if I were in WWE, a lot of things would be different in WWE, morally and financially and creatively. But as bad as WWE is on bringing back a Brock Lesnar and doing a lot of terrible things, and this is not an excuse for them, but if I'm WWE, I'm not going to be like, yeah, you know what, let's bring in that Masha Slamovich for this kind of thing. No, of course not. They'd be stupid to do that. But there are 8 matches currently announced for Victory Road. Let's just break those down a little bit here. Cedric Alexander, Trey Miguel, and Zachary Wentz are in a 3-way for the pre-show. I have no context of why they are fighting.
They are fighting because the X Division title match on this show is
Leon Slater against Myron Reed.
And they are the remaining. So Reed is with Wentz and Miguel as part of the Rascals, and Cedric challenged Slater at the last show and has been teaming with him ever since. So it's just kind of the spillover from that.
Is it like effectively a number 1 contenders match?
I would make it so, but realistically what I'd do is I'd throw all 5 in Ultimate X, and you do that at Bound for Glory. That's what I would do.
So there's no story of like Miguel and Wentz like fighting each other. They're friendly competition.
They're a little pissy at one another right now because, Reed won the title shot, not them, and they're blaming each other because it was a 4-way between the 3 of the Rascals and Jake something, and I think Wentz stopped Miguel or Miguel stopped Wentz, And now they're like, hey, man, I thought we were friends. So there's a little bit of that, but mostly I think it's just to get a good X Division 3-way on the card.
So I'm assuming Leon Slater retains. And then as far as the triple threat, go with whoever.
That's a coin toss. I'd go with Wentz. I like Wentz a lot, but I'd also wouldn't be surprised to see Cedric pick up the win.
Any thoughts on that, Callum?
It would just be a random guess.
Yeah.
So I'll go Miguel then.
Moose and Mustafa Ali are against each other, and the winner of that gets the advantage for Bound for Glory for their big hardcore, whatever they're calling it, match.
For their War Games, not cage match.
Yeah. So I'm assuming the heel comes out on top
the
of there.
Heel has to win, obviously.
And it's like a general rule that makes the most sense. So Mustafa Ali figures out some way to be Moose.
Yep.
Through shenanigans, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Makes most sense.
Hooker by crook, and it's like
the heel team should always be advantaged in like an equivalent War Games match. So.
Yeah,
unless you're WWE and you insist on, but there's got to be two of them. So
I say they always. Well, it's not just WWE. Like TNA have done it in the past. I'm sure AEW may have done it once or twice, but it's a case of they always feel like they have to change up the formula. Where it's like this foot match type only works if the heel team has the advantage. That is the only way it works. Don't try and fix it because you're trying to be clever.
Yeah, it's a formula for a reason.
The only way that it works is if you then have a different twist. Like, I'd be okay
if the babyface wins the advantage, but then one of their guys gets taken out before the match starts, then you can do something like that. But like, it only works if the heels have a man advantage during the course of the match.
Like the Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai thing.
That's the one I was thinking of myself.
Like that, okay, different story. But when it's just Team Rhea Ripley has the advantage and then wins, it's just sort of like, okay, well, then you start getting into the argument of like, no wonder some people find Superman boring if you can't fight him and he can pick up an entire planet and chuck it at you. Why would Lex Luthor have any chance whatsoever?
Good movie.
Shout out to Peacemaker, by the way. This season's been a lot of fun. And shout out to the morality of Peacemaker as well, if you've watched this most recent episode in particular. Not going to explain what it is, but it's self-explanatory if you see what's going on there. Elegance brand, Heather and M. I always hate typing that out. M by Elegance just doesn't flow with, it doesn't make sense to me. Defending the Knockouts tag titles against the Inspiration. And I'll say this about this and about the International Championship match, which is Steve Macklin against Frankie Kazarian. I think Kazarian beats Macklin, and I think that there's a chance that the Inspiration can win the tag titles. But with Bound for Glory coming up, there's always a chance that any kind of, whether it's AEW, WWE, whatever, if they've got a big show, they might want to keep championships for changing hands on that show. So it's working backwards, and it's the type of thing where it's like, yeah, of course you'll know more of what happens after the other thing happens. Of course, that's, it's stupid, but like, we aren't privy of, is Frankie Kazarian walking into Bound for Glory to fight Steve Macklin in a rematch? Or is he defending the international title against Joe Hendry or somebody else? Or do they have a plan for, say the Inspiration to win the tag titles here, or to get cost winning the tag titles and then get another match and then win it at Bound for Glory? I don't know. So I am assuming Elegance brand somehow retains, and maybe the Inspiration wins at Bound for Glory. But I'm also kind of assuming that maybe Macklin drops the international title to Kazarian here. And it's really ultimately, look, I'm not watching Impact, so I'm sure there's parts that I'm missing. But I could see the international title changing hands more, even though both have a chance.
So I, who do watch some of Impact, think that the Inspiration might get the win here, just because you can always flip-flop those titles. I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but it is inconsequential more than others. I think Maclin's going to hold the belt. They're so obsessed with him being like TNA's fighting champion that I think he should probably just win it here as well. And then I don't know what you do with him after Bound for Glory. But Frankie Kazarian could win, and maybe they have plans for him, or maybe, there was briefly the tease of Kazarian AJ. Maybe they'll circle back around to that. But I see Macklin winning, and I see the Inspiration winning.
I guess it kind of makes sense for the Inspiration to win because with Ash by Elegance as the Knockouts champion, having to throw M into it instead means that it's a quote unquote weaker team for the Inspiration to beat. So I guess it would make sense for them to win the titles there. Macklin and Kazarian. I haven't watched enough, but I do know that they brought back Mr. Anderson recently for a couple of things. I know you mentioned that, but so I mean, my initial logic, and this is just TNA logic, is that Anderson turns on Macklin and Kazarian wins the title. So,
well, I'm hoping that Anderson's a one-off because they were in Minnesota.
Yeah, so, but it depends on what the reaction is to it. Because if he got a good reaction coming back and people liked it, or then they'll bring him back if the reaction is good enough, and obviously if he wants to go back more than just that one-off appearance. But I'd say that's just always what I look for. I just look for, okay, they had a tag team match, and Anderson was on the side of Macklin, so Anderson's going to low blow Macklin, and Kazarian's going to win the title, and then Macklin is going to have a match with Anderson at Bound for Glory. But it could completely be the other way around.
Very easily could be their plan, yeah. That's the whole thing. It's like, if they do have somebody like an AJ Styles ready to do a match with Frankie Kazarian, then why would that be for the international title? That would just be a one-on-one. So then Macklin would retain.
So AJ can win more TNA titles. Why not?
But I couldn't imagine that they would give him a belt and give him a run, so it's the whole they are working backwards from some things. The only thing that we know for sure is okay, Mike Santana is fighting Trick Williams, and the Hardys are going up against the Dudleys, and the stuff that they've already announced with that, but the stuff that they didn't and that they're sitting on, we don't know. So like any other WWE thing or an AEW thing, if the whole plan is okay, well, we wanted Brock for War Games, then no wonder they did the whole thing with Brock and Paul Heyman. That's to set it up. And it's the type of thing that if Anderson was brought in for that tag match, just for that tag match, and we don't get anything else afterward, then it'll be all right, well, then no wonder nothing came out about it. But you bring up a good point about that. And then that also makes me kind of go, okay, well, Steve Macklin won that tag match, and then it's the usual rule of thumb. If you win a match prior to the pay-per-view, does that mean that you lose on the pay-per-view? More often than not. So, I don't know. I'm a little bit 50-50 on that as somebody that's not a TNA watcher. So, yeah. Flip a coin when it comes to some of those. Flip a coin when it comes to Eric Young and Joe Hendry and Matt Cardona and the hometown man against the Nemeths. Hometown man is apparently undefeated, so I would lean more towards that team winning.
I'm sorry. Wrestling is silly. We talked about this 20 minutes ago. Wrestling is very silly. But this is so TNA. And I don't like it. It's interesting that Cardona's working with the Nemeths, and it kind of seems like Cardona might be appearing more on WWE TV. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think the Nemeths were in that mix on Tuesday, were they?
Too many people. I couldn't really tell.
But I could see them getting the win here. Maybe they have plans for Cardona. I would imagine they have plans for the Nemeths, but maybe they're all just in the call your shot gauntlet, and that's how they get around that. Because the Nemeths have been feuding with the Hardys, but the Hardys are going to fight the Dudleys. And so they can't do anything there. And I wouldn't want to see Matt Cardona versus Ryan Nemeth at Bound for Glory with, Ziggler doing nothing or just being a random entry in the Battle Royal. And as far as
Eric Young and Joe Hendry.
Hendry and Young, I'm going to guess Hendry wins here. Maybe they do something stipulation-wise at Bound for Glory. Maybe they move on to a different feud for Hendry for Bound for Glory. He's not having the most high-profile exit from TNA, but also he's kind of just an NXT guy right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
maybe he
we'll
fights
see.
somebody from NXT,
Right. Because we don't know when that Invasion show is going to happen. I think it would make more sense around Survivor Series, but it's obviously going to continue beyond in the month of October, so we'll see.
For that matter, too,
Yeah.
there's Mike Santana and Ridge Holland. So we might as well just, all three matches when it comes to this.
Which I think is the main event of the show, which...
Mike Santana beats Ridge Holland. He's just a guy to beat and fill time for Trick.
I think Trick should be on this show. I think he should, show his face, lay out Santana, do something.
Yeah, we'll do something like that.
But Ridge Holland being the guy, I don't know. I only say that because he hasn't been on NXT TV. So for him to be like the NXT representative that gets sent over to try to deal with the TNA problem is strange to me. Maybe you could have sent someone
who's not on Evolve.
Send fucking Omos. He's huge. He's massive. Like, send him to throw around Santana and have Santana find the way to knock him down and then spin the block, beat him. That would be more intriguing to me.
So what are your thoughts on these three matches, Cal?
I don't have many because that's enough. So
I would think you had so many.
Well, obviously, Mike Santana's got to win because he's been challenged for the title at Bound for Glory, so it makes no sense for him to lose. The only question about that one is whether, because it's Ridge Holland, whether that's the catalyst for NXT people to rush into the end of the show.
Yeah, that probably.
Eric Young, Joe Hendry. I mean, Hendry probably will win, but the thing about Eric Young is that he'll still be there in the next month or two, whereas Hendry will be long gone pretty soon. So, but it's just a case of what they have planned for Joe Hendry at that show. So I'll go Hendry for that one. And then Nemeth versus Cardona and the Hometown Man. I guess you just go the Nemeth as the more established team. We don't know what the Hardys are doing yet at Bound for Glory, do we?
Yeah, we do.
Team 3D. Yeah, of course. So I was wondering whether that could help catalyst one of them into a title match, but so you just go with the actual team, I guess, that wins. You probably set up Nemeth versus Cardona in a one-on-one match at Bound for Glory anyway.
So they had said that the whole women's title thing is just going to be Ash cutting a promo, you said?
Yeah, and I would imagine that would somehow involve Indy, because Indy was supposed to be the referee for the Moxley match. But who knows? Maybe, you know what? Maybe Ash is like, I'm the best, open challenge. Maybe Mickie James comes out. Maybe you get a match out of that. Maybe something happens where you try to give the people more than what they would have gotten. That should be the mindset. But we'll see what they can pull out.
So that all goes down.
They're in Canada. Send Natty.
Yeah, she's got nothing better to do. That starts at 8:30 tonight, which is like, come on, start earlier. I don't want to be watching this at midnight. Somebody else TNA related that has been drawing some criticism this week has been Gail Kim over her criticism of Riho. I haven't checked a good portion of what she's been saying. Some of the stuff that she's been saying makes sense to me, and a lot of it makes 0 sense whatsoever. I'm sure you guys can fill me in on the blanks. It seems to me like the criticism is Riho is too short and that she's dressed up like a little fetish Japanese girl thing. And if it's the too short thing, I think it's funny when people put the pictures of like Gail Kim standing next to Awesome Kong versus Riho standing next to Mercedes, where it's like, yeah, of course, Riho and Mercedes makes a lot more sense and it's way more believable. So Gail Kim's got no real room to stand there. Of course, if it's Riho against somebody that's twice or 3 times her size, it's a different story, because that's the whole, Rey Mysterio shouldn't feasibly be able to beat down somebody like Brock Lesnar or The Big Show or whatever. I don't see much different between what Riho wears to the ring compared to some other people. Some other people wear way more fetishy things. I'm not even the biggest fan of Riho to be like arguing on that front, but like, I don't know, kind of seems like a weird hill to die on.
So, admittedly, I haven't seen too much of this beyond the initial issue. And I say that because I bet if I go on X right now, there will still be tweets.
She's still going. She's still going.
So, my initial thought was, first of all, I was more concerned about the Masha thing because it seemed like more real world badness happening there. But she questioned the realism of Riho's presentation, and I was like, that's kind of hypocritical. And then I kind of tuned out, and I just see that she's still going, and I don't know why this is such a thing. Riho's great. I don't know why people get all weird about Riho. Like, I don't understand it. I thought the tweet from Kenny Omega was tremendous, if not a little more heavy-handed than I would have thought. Which, if you don't know Tony, he tweeted, "Just another legend doing splits on it for that TKO basket."
I saw Helms was he tweeted out, "Wait, you guys get baskets?"
He's fantastic too. He just replies to stuff and tries to bring some humor into things. But I don't know. I feel like this has gone too far. I feel like, again, not everything needs to be on the internet. And again, lay off Riho. Stop it.
Yeah, I'd say I think that even though this is obviously been blown out of proportion, as most things on X and any other social media platform are, I do think that Gail Kim is parroting a lot of the Jim Cornette discourse towards Riho in the past, which is essentially saying that she's like, a Japanese schoolgirl, even though she's nearly 30 years old. Like, she's a grown woman. Like, she's allowed to wear whatever she wants to the ring, in the same way that I didn't see Gail Kim get up in arms at stuff that either Rhea Ripley or Stephanie Becker wear when their arse is basically all the way out, pretty much, in most of their ring gear. But I'd say that's not a criticism for them either. They're allowed to wear whatever they want. But it seems like this weird thing with Riho because she was small. She's smaller because of the Japanese thing, and Japanese, yeah, and also the fact that, like, obviously historically she has been wrestling since she's 9 years old. So, and in the Japanese side of things, they do start women wrestling a lot younger, which I think, there's a problematic element to that as well. I think there's obviously a lot of predatory behaviour, not just in Japan only, but like in lots of cultures as well. But, I don't think people should be wrestling before they reach like 16 or 18, or when they've got reached adulthood status but that's by the by. But it's more of a case of just the way that she looks. I think that's just the thing that people hone in on and say that, oh, she shouldn't even be wrestling because it doesn't look realistic, or because of, just because she's quite, I would say child looking, because that sounds harsh to her as well, but because she's smaller and, on the whole, more Japanese or Asian women tend to have more younger features, or seem to be younger as they get older. They're more great. They age more gracefully. So it's a case of, I guess that's the thing that people find. It's because the way that Gail Kim is described as well, saying like gives her the ick. Like that's so weird, especially considering the fact that she is, you know, I don't want to judge that thing as well, but she, you know, she's part Asian as well. So I think that like surely she may have received that sort of like maybe stigma attached to her as well in the past. I don't know. I don't want to delve too deep into it, but it's more of a case of, I think that a lot of the criticism Riho gets is in bad faith and very harsh. And especially Riho in particular, because there's always been that speculation about her and Kenny Omega's relationship as well. That's why Kenny obviously came to her defense as well. But the idea that like she only gets bookings in AEW or anything like that because she's sleeping with one of the bosses or anything along those lines. So yeah, obviously AEW and a lot of wrestlers in any sense get a lot of unnecessary abuse or unjustified abuse for whatever reason, for anything along those lines, especially on the women's side of things. But Riho, there seems to be a very special part of the internet that really absolutely detests Riho. And I think Gail Kim, whether that was her intention or not, has kind of encapsulated that in a lot of her tweets as well. And is just continuing to double down more than anything else. Like, not even to say, like, I was wrong or to, like, sorry, my things got misinterpreted. I'm just going to stop now. Just a case of, like, everyone has called her out on it, and she's just seemingly going one after the other, every single reply she's got, and responding to them. So, you know, if that's all she's got to do now after TNA Canada, then she can then she can enjoy it.
And I think we should. I think the internet was a mistake, is what I think.
Oh yeah,
I think we should just stop. And yes, I'm aware that we right now are on the internet, and I'm okay with what I just said because I stand by it.
Hey, you're not going to hear me argue that I'm not a mistake. So
we should just stop. Like,
let's talk about some other just random stories going on here. Drew McIntyre was cast as Henry Cavill's brother in the Highlander movie reboot that's coming out sometime, next year or so.
But will he be cast as the next James Bond?
Yeah. Well, they went an unknown, so not quite the same.
He's a wrestler. Not a lot of people watch wrestling.
That's true. It's not like they haven't had Scottish ties to the, but I don't think my Bond would be as big and brawny as Drew McIntyre. The Highlander thing, I mean, it's interesting to me. Like, first off, good for Drew McIntyre. Like, that's cool. This is arguably going to be a big enough movie that, like, I mean, it's way bigger than any other movie that he's been a part of, and that many other people in WWE and other wrestlers would be a part of. I don't know how big this is going to be because there are plenty of things that are like, a name IP and like big names and stuff that don't end up being a big thing. But this is an MGM, Amazon, United Artists combo, blah, blah. I don't even know how to classify that crap at this point. Film. It's got not only Henry Cavill in it, but Karen Gillan is one of the love interests. Jimon Hansu, a name that a lot of people wouldn't really know, but he's been like in everything. He's the Wizard Shazam. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy. Fantastic actor. Russell Crowe is apparently in this. Batista is also in this, and he is going to be the Kurgan. So we might actually get Batista beheading Drew McIntyre in the movie. Funny enough. I'm going to be watching it. I've seen the first Highlander. That's part of the bad movie watch-alongs that I've been doing for the past year or so, and it's unintentionally hilarious. I've not watched any of the sequels or the TV series that for some reason take a plot that says everybody dies except for one person and then goes, yeah, I don't know, then there's more, because it seems really fucking stupid. But, plenty of movies do that. Somehow Palpatine returned. Fuck you, Star Wars sequels. But I'm sure that my wife and I will end up watching this at some point.
Wasn't Edge in one of the Highlander movies as well?
I don't know. Maybe.
In any case, I'm excited to see any interaction between Drew and Batista. I think they would have had a fun rivalry in the ring. I'm stoked for Drew getting opportunities elsewhere, and yeah, I just think this is a thumbs up all the way around.
Yep, I mean, I don't really have much to say. I'm not going to watch it, so. Like, and yes, Adam Copeland was in Highlander Endgame. Had a bit of a cameo appearance of that.
Nice.
For a
Back in
thing
2000.
There could be only one. This is like the 7th thing. So, another outside reference thing. You guys were telling me a little bit about this ahead of time, that there was like a CMLL Pokemon crossover.
Yeah, so on a Thursday, they did a show for, in order to promote the new Pokemon Legends ZA game. So, yeah, they just did a fun little show. Like, it was only 4 matches, only took place over the course of like 2-3 hours. Main event was a Team Horlucha versus Team Machamp match, with Team Horlucha being represented by Mystico, Mascara Dorada, and Titan. And they defeated Volador Jr., Hechicero, and Barbaro Cavernario. Fun enough match. Hechicero and Mystico both kind of donned the Machamp style gear and Horlucha style gear as their kind of representative team captains. Yeah, as I say, it was a nice little, just fun show. They had like little Eevee and Pikachu mascots out there, like welcoming the wrestlers to the ring, and had the Pokemon said they had the ring mat split in 2, like a Pokemon battlefield.
Nice.
Yeah, so yeah, it was a nice look. It's one of those good examples of good like wrestling marketing, other than WWE, which is like every show has like the ring color. Like, if it's a one-off, it's a lot more palatable. And obviously, it's Pokemon as well, which is something that we all enjoy. So yeah, I'm not saying you necessarily need to check it out, because like, you know, it's still a wrestling show, and there was really much like, you know, they weren't hitting thunderbolts on each other or anything along those lines in the middle of the match. But you know, I thought it was a cute little crossover event.
For anybody that is a big Pokemon fan and a wrestling fan, keep in mind the Pokemon What If thing that I've just perpetually kept on the back burner because I don't have the time to do it, and I haven't seen enough response from people saying that they want me to do that stuff. But I've got whole spreadsheets of like, you know, what if Cody Rhodes was a Pokemon? What would his type be? And then the what if this person had like a team of Pokemon? What would it be? You know, everything from the pro wrestling side of things, where now spoil some of that. I'll bring up my list right now. Like, let's go back and talk about, let's see. I don't know, throw out a name. See if I have a name on here. Types. Let's go to the typings. Like I had,
I feel like I've helped you with some of these.
I'm sure that you have at some point. Like I had down different typings for the 3 different McFoley personas. Like, yeah, dark and fighting for Cactus Jack, dark and psychic as a potential for Mankind, and fairy and fighting for Dude Love. Or that like yeah, for instance, John Cena I had down as like normal and fighting or whatever, but also teams of people. Like if you were to take Kane, does he have something like Marowak on his team? Does he have Hisuian Typhlosion? You know, whatever. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, then let me know, because the more support that I get for that kind of concept, the more that I would do that over on Fanboys Anonymous.
He's underselling it. You don't know how big the spreadsheet is.
It's pretty big, especially because there's it's not just pro wrestling. There's Marvel, and there's, I always use the example, I have a typing for Forrest Gump. Like Godzilla has a typing, you know, it's all over the fucking place. Damn near, if you can think of it, I've probably done it at least some notes, unless it's something I'm totally like, I don't know anything about Dragon Ball Z or something. But I could tell you I've got a 20-something Pokemon list for what Batman's team is. And I know for sure Corviknight is one of them. So share support for Pokemon stuff. And, the more that we get with that, the more that we do. Other things with CMLL, you guys want to talk about any of that? I didn't watch the show, but the Mystico MJF thing, or, go back
yes,
and
this is their,
any of that.
Yes, this was their 92nd anniversary show that took place on the Friday before All Out and Wrestlepalooza. And the show itself was, I watched the whole show because I got it off of Fight. I know CMLL have their own subscription service, but I went through Fight because they did this one-off show for it. So I thought, okay, I'll check it out. And most of the show was fun. I'm not super au fait with lucha wrestling. I like it in small bursts. I like the way that AEW has incorporated a lot more of it, and obviously a big fan of people like Rey Mysterio, Phoenix, a lot of other people in the past that do it. But it's a case of it gets a little heavy-handed if it's just all that throughout the show. So it was actually good to have the Mystico and MJF match, which wasn't the main event of the show, surprisingly, but it was because they had a mask versus mask match to close the show. And in lucha wrestling or Mexican wrestling in general, the mask is more valuable than titles.
Yeah,
even though the match with Mystico and MJF was a title versus mask match, because the stakes weren't as high as the final one, then they decided to put this one from the second to last, I think. And it was an absolutely excellent match. The beauty of the match was its simplicity. It was probably the most basic 5-star match you're ever going to see. But it was, you could tell while watching it was a definitive 5-star match. Because the crowd was so behind Mystico. MJF played the heel role absolutely perfect. He came out dressed as Homelander. And he had his, what's his name? John Cruz. It was his Spanish translator dressed as Abraham Lincoln in his corner. So, and then he immediately, Mystico is busted open within 2 minutes of the match starting because MJF, attacks him during his entrance and throws him into the ring post. And, he's pretty much got half his mask missing the entire match anyway because he's bleeding so much. The side of his face is covered in blood, so you can't see him clearly anyway. And, they just wrestle a pretty, basic style match. Nothing super extravagant at all. But because of the crowd emotion and the quality of the near falls towards the end, when you just you kind of know what the result is going to be going into it, but you can tell that the crowd is super invested in making sure that Mystico doesn't lose. That when Mystico finally does force MJF to tap out to La Mystica, which they also did really well without having, because usually when Mystico gets that move in, the person taps out almost immediately, within 2 seconds, they're tapping out. Whereas MJF actually fought to the ropes, tried to get to the ropes, but then Mystico flipped back in, wrenched on the hold even harder, and MJF eventually had to tap out. And you get he wins the title back, crowd celebrates, goes wild for it, and it was just I think, out of considering how good a lot of the matches on All Out were, obviously I didn't watch Wrestlepalooza, but I don't think anything came close to it anyway. But this was definitely the best match out of the 3 shows, I would say, from what I saw.
Is it above a C-grade?
I'm pretty sure the guy on ESPN, if he was being fair, would probably rate this higher than a C-grade.
Well, that's another topic to talk about too. For anybody that did not check out Wrestlepalooza, and I wouldn't even say go back and check out my review of Wrestlepalooza to get an indication of that, because I had said on the thing they had the All Out stuff going on as the same time as Wrestlepalooza, so I didn't even get a chance to watch a good portion of what had happened, and I was just so annoyed that I was completely taken out of the game. So I'm not the authoritarian of the perception of those events from that weekend, but ESPN gave Wrestlepalooza a C, and then they give Raw an F. And there are some reports that are out there of we didn't expect him to be that harsh.
The F was fake. The C was real. The F was fake.
Oh, the F was fake?
The F was fake.
Okay. Well,
F
even still, I mean, that was not a great episode of Raw, so they probably should have given it an F. Maybe not an F, maybe a D. But I could not stand further behind. I forget the name of the reporter that had done Yeah, I am 100% in his corner. More than I could ever be. You do not have journalistic integrity if you throw your journalistic integrity out for the sake of corporate bullshit. And this is something I can speak specifically to when it comes to Bleacher Report. When they started the AEW, I had already been writing for Bleacher Report for several years. And I started a Bleacher Report in 2012. So, the AEW was 2019? That's when they started. So I'm established as a writer at that point of I'm going to give my opinions no matter what. And when they started with AEW over on that front, and it was we're hosting the pay-per-views, I let it known from the very start. I was I'm still going to review these the way that I reviewed every WWE show for the past 6-7 years. I am not going to be all right, well, technically AEW is hosting Fyter Fest or Fight for the Fallen or whatever on Bleacher Report. So if I was going to give something a B, I'll give it an A. If I was going to give it a C, I'll give it a B. Fuck that. You don't do that. You don't if you're reviewing movies or you're reviewing anything like that, if you're giving your opinion about something, the whole point of you being an analyst and a journalist or whatever is your integrity matters. And, for this guy to come out there and give a C to Wrestlepalooza, he should. Arguably, I would have potentially given maybe even a lower score if I would have watched the whole thing. I don't know. But you shouldn't just be well, it's the first show on ESPN and I write for ESPN, so I'm going to give it an A+ and say it's the best thing ever if you don't fucking like it. And if WWE doesn't like that they got a C, fucking do better. That's the whole point. And, I see so many people when they work on movies or I saw a recent thing from whoever it was, I forget the name, Tim Miller, I think, that had done Terminator Dark Fate and was saying again, well, the problem with the movie was that people weren't bigger fans of it and they were too critical because they should have just enjoyed it. That's not how that shit works. You don't tell people the problem with you not enjoying it is that you should just enjoy it and you should just like it. Or in the case of, oh God, there was something else I was just watching the other day or checking out. And they were saying it was The Undertaker. That's what it was. Undertaker addressing criticism of his podcast and having Michelle McCool on the podcast. And he said something along the lines of, if you don't like it, strap yourselves in and enjoy the ride. That's not how it works, dude.
Okay. Well, hold on. In that one, I'm going to go ahead and say that, I think people are overreacting about, oh, how dare they add Michelle McCool?
Oh, that? Yeah, I mean, but if you don't like it,
this is what we're doing. And he did say, this is America. You can hate it if you,
yeah.
I don't care if you hate it. So that's less of a.
I take issue with the strap yourselves in and enjoy the ride idea where people go, The Rock did it, where it's
and Hunter does it every fucking month.
Yeah, you can't criticize this because you should enjoy our storytelling and just give us a fucking pass. No. If I don't like it, I don't like it. And it's on you as an entertainer to make me like it. And you can't make everybody like everything. Somebody else watches Wrestlepalooza and they give it an A. Somebody else watches it and they give it an F. Because everybody has different tastes. But there should never be in question the idea of, if you are reviewing something, you should be honest. It does not matter if you work for the company or not.
And let's be clear, the ESPN branch, much like the Bleacher Report branch when Tony was working for it, it's separate. It's not. They're not literally going, you better give it an A.
Mhm.
You know, they are separate. And Andreas is doing his thing, and he's tremendous.
And credit to Bleacher Report, I don't think that there was ever a situation where they ever told me that I should be less harsh. If there was, I'm sure I would have told them no, you know, because like I'm not going to fucking lie, but you know, I don't remember that being the case. But if they would have, I would have said, fuck off with that noise.
And do you mind if I just talk about Wrestlepalooza for 2 seconds?
Go for it.
These shows are getting obnoxious. These ads are getting obnoxious. You can skip through 20-minute chunks in between actual matches with the way that these shows are blocked off now. The Usos had like a 7-minute entrance.
That's, keep in mind, after a 2-hour pre-show that followed a 2-hour special. So at the time, I'm watching All Out, which is still going on in the main event, and I'm trying to do coverage of that as well as the beginning of the Wrestlepalooza show. And I'm going, for fuck's sake, it's technically been 4.5 hours and you're just basically starting the first thing. Fuck you.
And I want to be clear. They opened the show with a video package, followed by a video package, followed by Hunter. By the time Brock Lesnar and John Cena, the bell rang, it was 7:30.
Yeah. It's like 7:26 or something.
I am resigned to the fact of this company is no longer putting on shows that resonate with me. I'll be transparent. I haven't watched a single episode of TV this week. I told you guys, if Fightful isn't asking me to do so, I'm not. I did watch Wrestlepalooza because I was reviewing it for True Heel Heat for their podcast. The Brock Lesnar John Cena match was awful. The Usos versus the Brawns, fun. The only good match on that show was Stephanie versus Io. And they delivered and had a tremendous match that I think everybody should go back and check out. But
which, by the way, that was what the ESPN writer had said, was that match was like the saving grace to give it not a lower score, which is like, yeah, okay, so checks out.
Absolutely fair. I can get into the overhyped, underdelivered in terms of like expect surprises, but realistically, the way WWE is presenting wrestling right now is not connecting with me. It's too legitimately commercialized. Like, I'm seeing a lot of commercials, and I do not want to.
They are very, very much in the same. Again, we're not going to get into like, you guys know our politics. You know how we hate evil corporations. You know how we stand on the state of the world right now and fuck anybody who is into the, MAGA shit and whatever. But like, the WWE is very, very, very much doing what is the bare fucking minimum that we can present and the maximum that we can put commercials and shove this kind of shit in front of people. What is the littlest we can do for creative and presentation and the maximum for monetary that we can get away with? And to an extent, you can't blame a business for wanting to do that, but business is inherently just immoral and should not be rewarded for crapping on the people that support them. Hence why I make such a big deal, for instance, and of course this is like, pennies compared to billions of dollars. Like, we recorded those tier lists ahead of time, and I could have sat on those and just released those in the future for no reason, like just waited until October. But hey, if you're on the $5 tier on here, you get early access to that because I want to give back to you for supporting the show. So we're doing the show. None of us are fucking making any money on this show. By the way, if you want to see a screenshot of what I get from YouTube, you would be like, Jesus Christ, why you still do this, Tony? I do it because I have fun with my friends. And I do it because there's some people out there that enjoy this show. This is not, I invest way more money and effort and time into doing this podcast than I get back from it easily. And for somebody to go, hey, I like what you do and I want to show support from you, and then I'll give you $5 a month, I already go, oh, I deserve to give you more then. And WWE in that position does the equivalent of, you should pay me $50 a month and I'll give you maybe the hot tags, but the hot tags are going to be filled with sponsors and it's going to be a 10-minute episode and 6 minutes of it is going to be product placement. But you should pay me for that more. Everything has a reset, and WWE is eventually at some point going to price themselves out of this thing, and they're going to eventually have to learn how to present more of a product for, the comparison between their TV stuff and their premium live events and their blah, blah, blah. And they're going to have to put less commercials on there and stuff. But one of the ways to get around doing that is not the propaganda machine of just lie and give it a better grade. You think that an ESPN writer is going to give it an A and that's going to change people's perception? No.
No, and I think, first of all, it's also okay that they're not making content for me. I'm not just saying this should only appeal to my interests, but I'm just saying,
right.
I think in general, in the entertainment sphere, we are getting more ads than ever, more commercialized than ever, and it feels like the opposite of what we were promised. And I don't know. I'm also probably the only person here, definitely between the three of us, genuinely worried about the future of the vault content and the library content and how that's all just going to go away, and we're going to have to be drip fed that. I disagree with a lot of what's happening, on top of the fact that, again, just in general, from a wrestling perspective, they are not appealing to me as a wrestling fan. And I have, given the opening to not watch, I have stopped supporting as much as I would have at literally any other point in my life.
Which goes to show for the people that would go, if you don't like it, don't watch it. He's not.
I am doing that.
That's exactly what he's doing. I don't watch. I don't get paid to do coverage of Collision, so I don't watch it. I do get paid to do Collision, to do Evolve coverage, so I watch that. If I was not getting paid to do Evolve, I wouldn't watch Evolve. The same way as I don't get paid to do Main Event. You fucking watching that show? Couldn't tell you where the hell it is anyway, because apparently Hulu doesn't even know.
You went on a tangent last week about trying to find that show.
By the way, random rant. I should not go to Hulu's website and talk to their agents and ask them, do you even carry the show WWE Main Event? And have them go, I don't fucking know. And then you're going to raise your prices. No, fuck you. Especially after the Jimmy Kimmel thing. God damn it, Disney. So I am so happy that this reporter gave Wrestlepalooza a C-grade. And I hope that he gets zero flack from it from ESPN. I hope if anything, I hope he gets a fucking raise for having the balls to do that. Instead of just being like, they might be mad at me if I don't at least give it a B. And I guess because I've seen plenty of other people do this too, where, colleagues and stuff will be like, behind the scenes, that wasn't really all that great. And then they write up a review and it's like, it was okay. It was actually, it was pretty good. And you're like, you don't really believe that. You just don't want to be critical. And for that matter too, for anybody that complains and goes like, this wasn't the worst event ever, why are you giving it a C? It's a fucking C. Why do we have a world these days where it's like, if it's either an A or an F and there's no in between. The whole point of a B and a C and a D is because there's a range of things, and people have lost all their nuance and just brain cells when it comes to that. And you go, it's about a 7 out of 10. They're like, I didn't know that you hated it. Oh, I'm sorry that I gave it 70% close to a perfect score. That means that I hated it. Sure. Baffling. Insanity. I don't like it. Idiots and savages.
Sorry, I don't like it.
So Calvin didn't watch Wrestlepalooza, and I don't blame you for it. So you can't say whether or not you thought it was a C or like that. But any thoughts on any of this rant shit that I just decided I needed to go further on than I thought I was going to?
No, I think, well, there's not very much more to add. It's sense of ESPN have been quite transparent in the fact that they're going to treat WWE editorially, even though they're in a partnership with them, and they're not going to stop their reviewers from reviewing it as honestly and accurately as this person has. I'd say, having not watched the show, I can't say whether the C-grade is an accurate thing. I think based on my recent experience, it's probably too high. But that's like, that would just be my immediate thing of going into a WWE show. I'm almost, if I'm forced to watch a WWE show, I'm probably already going in with it saying, this is probably an E already. Like, the show starts and it's like, there's, how many minutes was it until the first match started? Probably about 20. Yeah, this is an F show already. So, don't want to watch anymore.
I just want, this is the last thing I'll say on it. The juxtaposition of, I missed the first match on the tailgate brawl because I tuned in at was it 2:10 or whatever, and they had already gotten through a match in 10 minutes, where WWE didn't get through a match in the first 30. It's so different. And watching them both side by side is whiplash that you can't even, explain to somebody who isn't a wrestling fan.
Yeah. So I'd say it's good that the ESPN reporters and should continue to be as fair and as reasonable as they can with their reviews and be allowed to speak their mind regardless of how they thought about the show. And if WWE officials are butthurt about that, then they should produce better shows.
Yep.
Here.
Let's see. I've got Io Sky is going to wrestle. Was it Mayu Iwatani in Marigold? It's another random story.
Yeah, so that's a show taking place on October 26th called Marigold Grand Destiny. I don't know whether that's their like WrestleMania equivalent or their big show of the year, because I haven't followed Marigold since it started. So, but yeah, this is just another indication of the obvious relationship that would eventually form between Marigold and WWE. So sending Io Sky over there to wrestle Mayu Iwatani, who obviously have had a lot of interaction with each other back in their days in Stardom. So yeah, they had as Rob was right in saying that Io Sky previously had a match with Utami Hayashishita at the previous Marigold Summer Destiny in July 2024. So this is the first match that a WWE wrestler has had with in Marigold since then. But I'm sure the match should be good considering the two people that are involved. Like, Io Sky's had a better year probably in ring than any other WWE wrestler, and Mayu Iwatani's one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. So yeah, I don't see this one being bad at all.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I want to watch the match when it's out.
That's like other than the TV talk. That's our hot tags that we had. But let's go back and just double check about some other topics from that. We talked about NXT already. No need to kind of go back and continue repeating the same things on that front. The SmackDown stuff from last week is already late enough that all right, well, tonight we're going to get a triple threat match for the women's championship. I'm assuming Tiffany Stratton retains over Jade Cargill and Nia Jax. What about you guys?
I'm gonna I wouldn't be surprised if Tiffany retains, but I'm gonna potentially say Jade on this one.
I guess it depends on what status Stratton is in terms of the injury that seemingly took her out of the NXT match recently. So if she is actually injured or it's worse than what they were expecting and like she's just going to be taken out early in this match and then there'll be a champion being named, like part of me thinks that they'd probably just give it to Nia. But I'll go with Tiffany just because seemingly she should be okay if she's going to be in the match at all.
Yeah, I mean, if that ends up being one of those things where they booked her in a match and it's a triple threat specifically to get her not to wrestle, then if it's bad enough to do that, it's bad enough to just take the belt away from her. And maybe we're going to luck out and this is going to be the last time that she fights the same two fucking people because she's only fought 3 people for this entire goddamn year. I don't understand.
Oh, what about the habit of a lifetime? They can't put Mooch in. She's too busy chasing the United States Championship that only 2 or 3 people compete for.
To be clear, she's fought 4 people this year. Don't discount Trish Stratus.
Totally forgot about the Trish thing. Yeah. I'm thinking just Charlotte's the only other one. For anybody that's curious, Julia and Kiana James are up against Meech in a B-Fab in a tag match tonight, so it's continuing that storyline. And Sami Zayn's going to have another one of his open challenges. So, let's stay tuned when it comes to that front.
So he's fought Cena, Phoenix, and Carmelo Hayes so far in that open challenge, right?
Yep.
I think so, yeah. So
okay, so they can't be too far until they start running out of good wrestlers. So that'll be. I imagine because then they'll start you'll start getting situations like, okay, I guess we're gonna have to put the Miz in, throw the Miz in there, or throw Austin Theory in.
Well, Theory's injured.
He's hurt.
But,
You're not getting him.
Miz could be a good option that they might toss out tonight just because he's got the connection with Carmelo Hayes. Or it could be like, maybe Santos Escobar comes back randomly or something.
That's the one I was thinking. This is a good chance to just have a good match with Santos. You can separate DIY for a week. You can use this to get Montez Ford a singles championship. As hey, I answered an open challenge. It doesn't mean I don't want to be a tag team guy. There's a few good options, but they'll run out of them real quick.
And for anybody that's curious too, I don't know if DIY are baby faces or heels because they've been treated even Candice this past week on NXT was like pure baby face, but they haven't been on
NXT, they're heels on SmackDown.
Probably, but they haven't been on SmackDown since the NXT stuff. So it's like maybe that was just like, okay, well now they're baby faces now.
By the way, speaking of more people you put against Sami Zayn, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin are great singles wrestlers.
That they are. They would go on some great matches with Sami Zayn there. You could also just do like a random like Nathan Fraser or something like that. You could have.
Of course, we're bearing the lead. It'll be Omos and Omos.
I have no idea what they're doing with this MFT thing. Where like Solo Sikoa's like fuck everybody but Tongaloa. So like where
did that actually happen?
He said something like he's the only person who's got my back anymore or something. And it was like a thing where like JC Mateo and Talatonga weren't standing beside him. It was just Tongaloa.
That's concerning.
And like, where's Jacob Fatu?
So the questions about this got bad enough that Meltzer had to put out he's scheduled to return imminently. I assumed that they were giving him a little bit of time since he had been running pretty hard. But if he's not back soon, but from what you've just told me, that's genuinely concerning.
For the matter, I'm just assuming that the person who fights Sami Zayn tonight is Shinsuke Nakamura. Put that out there.
That's also a good one.
I think that's what it'll be.
I mean, I say good, but that's because when I think Nakamura, it's perpetually 2016.
Yeah. The Monday Night Raw side of things, we go back and talk about like a little bit that we got confirmation that Crown Jewel is going to have the Crown Jewel Championship. So Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins against each other. Stephanie Vaquer against the winner of the Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cargill, and Nia Jax match. So maybe they want to put the belt on Nia so that she could lose to Stephanie. Maybe it's just Stephanie against Tiffany. I'd be surprised if it was Stephanie, Jade against Stephanie, but we don't know.
That's right. I forgot this match was announced. I'm gonna say Tiffany wins then, because you just do Stephanie and Tiffany.
That's what I'm assuming. Yeah. It was kind of lame that the whole Adam Pearce comes out and he's just like, "Hey, everybody, Stephanie won the belt," and she's like, "Yep, I did." And then he's like, "Do you have that match? We'll figure it out." And she's like, "Yep." It's like, okay, cool.
It was a nice segment. Sometimes champions deserve to just celebrate and be like, "Hey, I won."
I'm surprised about this little thing too, like that Dom wanted JD McDonough to fight Rusev, who, again, for anybody that's like, the heel and face turn is the most important thing in the world. Rusev fighting for a heel does not make Rusev a babyface by default. Finn Balor didn't want to do it. JD McDonough has the match. And then they already jumped straight to Rusev against Dom. I was expecting that next week it would be Rusev against Finn Balor, but they're just skipping that step. So, good for them for not milking that next week. He could. I wouldn't be too shocked if he won. And then that way they continued the mega championship thing with Dom, and he still is, a champion and whatever. Lyra's still confused about Bayley. Bayley's just snapping back and forth between the two. Again, for the heel and face turn thing, that does not mean that she turns heel and face every single week. She turns. I've been asked about that 4 times, I think, which is like, oh my God, guys, really? What?
She turns with every hug, Tony.
Right. Like that's, I think that some people legitimately want me to write that up on the website. And I'm like, I got a fucking better life than that, guys. Sorry. Like, I really can't do that. That's insane. But if you want to, leave it in the comments. You can have fun doing that. I'm not liking this Jey Uso LA Knight thing. We've talked about that before. We now have a stable name, Los Americanos, for Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne being El Grande Americano 3 and 4.
You know what the sad thing is? A stable of Ludwig Kaiser, Chad Gable, and
a stable of 3 Europeans are pretending to be Americans, pretending to be
I'm not even
and none of them are the guy that started the whole thing.
Just like the 4 of them together, that sounds fun to me. I would watch them have a Survivor Series match or something. Like
that would be such a fun Survivor Series old school thing. You just have Los Americanos, and it's just 4 to 5 people in that against
like 4 of the best in-ring luchadors, and then you let them go nuts.
Against the LWO, and then they just flip around and have fun, and then
and then you never do the gimmick again.
Time Machine Dream Team. There you go. I said before about Maxine Dupree. Maxine's like, Adam Pearce, I really would like an opportunity, and he's like, yeah, well, I'd like a lot of things too. It's unnecessary to just be like, nah, but I don't know where they're going there.
La Grande Americana.
Maybe.
It's so simple.
Asuka and Kyrie officially turned heel, for anybody that's like, heel turn. He put it on the website. So there goes that partnership with Io. So Rhea Ripley and Io Sky versus Kabuki Warriors at Crown Jewel. You can pretty much guarantee that that's going to happen.
That's a hell of a match, first of all. Second of all,
4 talented people.
Again, as somebody who's not watching and just watching through clips, when are Io and Rhea going to kiss? Because it really looks like they're going to kiss.
Yeah.
And the internet seems to, if you only watch this through the internet, you would believe that they are all leading down the path where eventually this is Rhea and Io get together.
And that'll put butts in seats.
But outside of that, this is fucking great. Like, they're all good in the ring. I want to watch the tag match, and Rhea got more mist on her than I've ever seen a person get misted before. She's completely green. There
are many different ways we could take that discussion. Everybody can fill in the blanks themselves. I think there's anything else from Raw. Any other thoughts you guys want to toss out about Raw before we move on to Dynamite and finish this up?
No.
So on the Dynamite side of things,
Why would I? Yeah, you're waiting. I had something about Raw.
I don't know. I give you an opportunity.
So, as far as I'm concerned, like until I do my like checking out of the results for power rankings, I don't even know Raw happened. Like that's as far removed as I am from it.
Well, one big thing in particular happened on AEW that we're gonna end things off on, but we ought to talk about some other things before we get into that. Berdita retained the AEW World Tag titles over GOA. Ricochet had specifically said that they were going to go for the trios titles, but that with Katsuyori Shibata not being able to compete, that they just kind of are doing this in the meantime. So, hey, why not make the best out of the situation? Down for that.
Yeah, as it was a decent little match. I didn't think that there was anything super special to it, but as far as openers go with a bit of stakes to it, then that was fine. And you have Brody retain, of course they would do, but again, it helps just push GOA a little bit further up in the in people's perceptions for them going, getting a decent level to try and challenge for those titles. It wouldn't have been out of the question if they'd have won it, but I think they're really behind Brody right now.
Yeah,
and they're over, so makes sense.
Really
Hangman Adam Page retained the AEW Men's World Championship. By the way, again, I don't think we addressed this on the show. We might have. I like that they are specifically calling more attention to the idea of it being the AEW Men's World Championship, because they should. If you do that for the women's, you should do that for the men's.
Congratulations to Kyle Fletcher and Adam Page for single-handedly getting that over.
Yeah. And that, I think, is much more effective than when WWE tried that, 3-week experiment where they were just referring to the NXT Women's Championship as the NXT Championship and then not doing that for anything else, because that just went over like a lead balloon. I type, even though not technically don't have to, but if you go to the Ring Report, I have a thing that says and Sami Zayn will defend the men's United States Championship, because it's the men's and the women's, fair, equal. I like that.
And also, just as another shout out to those two, shout out for an incredible main event at All Out as well.
Jesus H. Christ. That match was so good. And that's what was on the screen when Lesnar and Cena were on the other. It just, again, night and day. And tremendous. Kyle Fletcher is going to be world champion within 2 years.
Yeah, he beat Lee Moriarty.
Good match.
I cannot type or see the name Moriarty without thinking, side note, of Sean Connery in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, how he would always say Moriarty. And so every time I type that out, it's just Lee Moriarty. Cope is going to be leaving for a while to film a Percy Jackson, I think it is. I've never seen it.
Pause. I've seen way too many people. Some stupid people.
No, he's not going to fight John Cena. I know you're saying that, but yeah, that's fine.
Oh, God. Yeah. Is that what they're thinking?
Yeah.
Too many people.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It's not happening, guys. He's unidentified for a fucking company. That's the whole point of why he did the thing at All Out.
Yeah.
Because they can't fight.
But go on. I just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah, so he's going to be off filming that. So he had said he's going to go take care of Beth Phoenix. And I like that little bit where it's he's I got to go take care of my family. And then Christian's well, I don't have a family anymore. So you go take care of yours. And then he's nah, you always have a family. Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, he gets Copeland gets to go on his one of his quarterly breaks from the company. I wasn't the biggest fan of their match at All Out. I thought it was fine. Maybe it was expected better. I wasn't a fan of Copeland kicking out of both the spike pole driver and the big rig in one match, and then just pinning Cash after a spear. It's like, okay, like you get your Beth Copeland like pop for her appearing. I just think that they kind of, it didn't feel as big as it should have done.
I enjoyed the match. I thought, they had probably a better match than I was expecting, because I know that especially after the foot injury last year, Cope has slowed down. But I thought they had as good of a match as they could have, and I'm excited to see the rest of how that story plays out. It now occurs to me that I probably will not see Cope in Jacksonville, and that sucks, but that's okay.
FTR and they did the whole thing. Willow Nightingale interrupting. Great promo from Willow praising Beth, and Jet Speed comes out, and they're going to start a whole thing with FTR now out of that. So makes sense. Kill some time. Put another great tag team in there. Cool. All down for that.
And an MJF promo.
Oh, the MJF thing was afterward. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so he had a promo after his loss to Mark Briscoe, and then he talks about how he's like lost everything and that he needs to come back as a more dangerous MJF, ready to, because he basically just admitted that guys like Ospreay, Swerve, Hangman have all put MJF in their dust, and so he needs to claw his way back to it, and saying that, so basically quoted like Frank Sinatra and then 8 Attack, and said that he's going to come back to do things his way. And so he's off to film for Violent Night 2, I think it is. That's his next project, and potentially go on honeymoon. But seemingly, if you follow Alicia on Twitter, I don't know how soon that's going to be based on her reaction to
that. After that, we got our trios match with the return of Orange Cassidy coming out and being the masterpiece artwork that Don Callis was working on. So great to see Orange Cassidy back. He's awesome. He's always been one of my favorites.
Yeah, I think they got slightly something wrong with the entrance, in that there was supposed to be a part where the screen went from Orange Cassidy's Titantron into like an error sort of sign, but that was only meant to happen when Rocky Romero went up the ramp and Cassidy just threw him through it, or threw him into it, and it went a little bit early. But other than that, the match was, it was just, your fun little trios match. We saw some interplay between Okada and Takeshita still. You have a hologram get the victory, which felt a bit odd in the moment, considering Briscoe and Cassidy were on the other side. But then it made total sense afterwards, with Cole Fletcher coming out saying that, hologram's 34-0 right now. And so he's going to fight him at the anniversary of Dynamite, put his TNT title on the line against his streak. And I like this for Fletcher, because he's still a heel, and he's still cocky, and he's still clearly like a slime ball, but he's a fighting champion guy. He's not a pushover.
Yeah.
And against Hangman, he was true to his word. No one got involved. Callis didn't get involved. He stayed on commentary the entire show. And now he's just going to fight Hologram because he wants to prove that he is the best, but do it in a condescending, arrogant heel way.
If you're going to beat somebody for it, why not beat somebody that you can also downgrade them in the process and boost yourself up and be like, I'm the guy that ended his undefeated streak. And, that's kind of a dick move to do as well as a heel. So it's like, great. Fuck Commander, by the way, though.
Well, Commander's back now from injury.
Yeah, but I mean, it was like, and by the way, Kyle Fletcher's also going to defend the title against Commander before that.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, well, I mean, he wasn't going to lose at the Commander anyway, but he sure as fuck isn't going to do now that you already scheduled a match afterward,
Yeah, that does kind of downplay it a little bit. Yeah. But it should be a fun match between those two.
I kind of wish that would have been, like, again, this is not the biggest, most important fucking thing in the world, but, like, to me, that's one of those things where I kind of think that maybe you think it, blah, 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 words. You think of it maybe in a different way, and maybe Kyle Fletcher goes, you know what? I have this match scheduled for the 6th anniversary of Dynamite, but I also want to defend my belt again on Collision, so I have an open challenge, and it's a more spontaneous thing. And then it's like, oh shit, well actually, you know what? He might not have that thing, instead of announcing it ahead of time and then being like, yeah, we all know if Fletcher's going to retain anyway, moving on. But don't you want to see them do some flips in the meantime and stuff? So, well, that I would tweak, but I like, 90% of this, so that's cool. Claudio Castagnoli beats Powerhouse Hobbs, leads to a whole big thing with Paige and Joe, and that's going to be a trios match for next week. Sure.
It does feel like they're setting Claudio up as the next challenger.
And that's somebody for Paige to beat, so
I get down with that.
Fine enough. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to go into a Claudio and Paige match on like a pay-per-view in particular and think maybe he's got a shot at winning it. But if they do it on Dynamite or something, Yeah.
I think it's quite funny because there's a lot of references online about Claudio's entrance and how it makes him feel like a dictator.
Which is weird.
It's like, well, yeah, but it's like the glowing red and the obviously Death Rider's music is quite impactful anyway, but his one feels like a cross between the Death Rider's theme and some sort of national anthem, like the Swiss national anthem or something. And so it's like, so I guess he has that kind of gives that sort of vibe off.
I would love to see him capture at least one more singles title and have like not the major world title, but like, a TNT title run or something, and have a strong run with it, because I think people are forgetting how strong Claudio is as a singles.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully there's more for him in the near future.
Give him the unified belt or something, and maybe change the name in the process.
I mean, I'm kind of okay with it because I think that there is still too much clinging to the old and not like looking to the future type thing. And it's not that Claudio is old, but like Claudio at his best has always been, when he's at his best and when he's pushed his hardest, he's a tag team guy. Not saying that he can't be, but he's had his world title run, he's had the Ring of Honor title run, so like he doesn't need anything right now, I don't think.
Oh, not right now, but I'm saying like
in the future maybe, yeah. But right now he's good where he is as like the underboss to Moxley.
Yeah, I mean, like if you said like if you would rather have Claudio or Kyle Fletcher with that TNT title, like obviously
I'd rather
Fletcher.
Kyle. Like I'd always rather a younger star.
I wouldn't go flat out always. Obviously, it's circumstantial. I'm sure you agree with that too. But like,
Oh yeah, it always takes time. But like, it's a case of
in most
there's always different
scenarios.
circumstances.
I'm gonna.
You want to.
Yeah, I'm gonna root for Braun Breaker being the guy that beats Brock Lesnar on the next biggest show, rather than it being somebody like Randy Orton. I'm gonna skip something first. The main event was Chris Statlander retaining the AEW Women's World Championship over Mina Shirakawa, the interim ROH. Here's a million words to this TV title. And then she flips off Moxley. She's not a part of the Death Riders, and Darby Allin has a flamethrower. And instead of challenging Jon Moxley to a fire-based thing at Wrestle Dream, he wants an I Quit match. So maybe he sets him on fire, and that's why Moxley quits or something.
Yeah, you can make him quit using fire.
Yeah. Should be a you're fired match. Fired up.
Good Lord.
But that should be good to have another match between those two. Again, it's going to be another like violent sort of match, but I imagine there'll be some other people getting involved in it as well.
Did Moxley even reference the fact that he was set on fire?
No, I don't think so. He had a bandage around his ear.
Because his ear got assaulted the entire match as well.
Which, by the way, everybody, if that happens to your ear, it doesn't heal as fast. Keep that in mind.
I think
you know what I'm talking about.
I think it's ridiculous that like this guy got set on fire, and the first thing wasn't Moxley frantically grabbing a microphone and going, "That motherfucker tried to set me on fire. I'm gonna kill him."
Yeah,
Like-
Tony Khan, what are you gonna do with this shit?
Tony Khan's like,
But-
well, you've tried to take over the show multiple times, tried to like kill people behind the scenes. I'm kind of okay with it now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think Tony Khan should say that. But like,
No.
I thought it was weird the lack of aggression there. But Moxley Darby I Quit match sounds like a whole lot of fun to me. Definitely looking forward to that. And as far as Stat turning or not turning rather, and joining the Death Riders, I think that's great. I think she's the DDP of this situation, and I wouldn't have picked her for that role, but she's the perfect person for it, I think, because now this gives her an identity. She can do like I stood up to the Death Riders. I'm my own person, not with Willow, not with anyone. I mean, she got Harley, but she's also just kind of trying to protect Harley from herself. And I actually really liked it. I thought it was very effective.
I'm totally fine with her staying babyface and being on that side of things. I would have been totally fine with her turning heel as well. I think there still needs to be a big women's presence in the Death Riders. I don't know, they've obviously got Marina, but Marina hasn't wrestled much.
Yeah, she doesn't count
So-
really.
Yeah, so I don't know whether you can really... I don't know what the plan is with her. I don't know whether they are planning on using that mixed tag match to launch Marina into a title program with Statlander.
I think
So-
it's possible.
I think it is possible, but I don't know whether that's long-term who would be against. I think you do need to still have that big bad for the women's division in some form or fashion. It doesn't necessarily have to be attached to the Death Riders, but what the women's division really is missing is like the top heel. Because really the top heel right now is Mercedes. And she's heel, but she has has the great matches. She's like the cocky heel champion. She's more of a Fletcher model heel, and a guy like Fletcher can't be the big bad. Not that Fletcher can't be the top heel, but he can't be. You need someone like Max, or you need someone like Max or Mox, as your big bad, like overly like uber heel champion. I don't think, or just uber heel force in the company. I don't think the women's division has that yet. I would probably give that to Hayter if there was the opportunity. Potentially Tekla could take that if they continue with the Triangle Badness. I'm worried that Tekla's just too cool for that, and you can't be the biggest heel and be cool.
Also, if you
You
try
have
to
to-
mix that in with Death Riders, you got to fit somebody who fits into there too. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
and Hayter would fit into
Tekla
that.
and the Death Riders, I don't think merges as well. Hater could. I could
Yeah.
see that.
Or
Fletcher
we could-
definitely cannot be that role in the women's division.
No, but we haven't seen or heard anything about Tony Storm since. Obviously, I know that happened last week, but obviously Tony Storm wasn't on the show. Mina said that she hadn't heard anything at all from Tony Storm after it as well. So we need to see what the reaction to her losing the title is.
I thought about it because realistically, in today's AEW, putting Mox and Tony together is as close to a super duo as you can get because they've owned these world titles, and I wouldn't be against it.
Or this may just be like a Tony Storm thing, because last time she lost the world title, she went away for several months, and she came back as the rookie Tony Storm instead. She went to just fight in CMLL in Japan for a little while, for a couple of months before coming back. So maybe she goes down that route again. Or there's another prize that she could be fighting for.
Man,
That's your segue.
the options of what we can go with for that, and also just even what you were just talking about, how great would it have been if Shayna Baszler was then able to join the Death Riders and to do that?
No, but she wants to be backstage, like talking to people and like motivate
Talking about friendship.
Salrika instead. Yeah,
You mentioned Tony Khan can't address the Fire and John Moxley thing and all that, but what he can do is he can make an immediate mixed tag team match for next week, and he could also come out and be like, "Hey Ray, show them that new gold." Get the thumbs up in a very awkward segment, but he announced something that we've been talking about for a while now. The AEW Women's World Tag Team Championship titles are, quote, coming soon, with the idea in mind that it's going to be happening sometime within the next couple of months. I mean, there's not a whole lot of time yet, but he said in 2025 and coming soon. So whether that is at Full Gear or maybe even as quickly as Wrestle Dream, but I highly doubt it because I think that they probably would announce that as and at Wrestle Dream, we will crown that. Maybe it's an episode of TV that they just add some gimmick to or something, but they didn't announce who is fighting for it, when they're fighting for it, how they're fighting for it, any of those kind of details, just unveiled the belts, which look exactly the same as the men's, other than the nameplate saying women's. And, we've talked about this before, so we're running down the same kind of opinions we had. There are enough tag teams to at least set up initial champions. I don't know if there's enough tag teams to have a fully functional division, but you could try. And you could give it to Julia Hart and Sky Blue. You could give that to Megabad. I wouldn't be opposed to them teaming up like Jamie Hayter and Alex Windsor as a team. You got Harley Cameron is friends with like everybody on the roster, so put her with somebody. You got TJ. Yeah.
Athena and Billy Starks.
Athena and Starks, yeah, that's another one.
Mercedes is absolutely going to try to find a partner and have like an 11th title.
Storm and Mina Shirakawa probably team at some point. You got
the Renegades there.
You got the Renegades if Charlotte's ready to go. You got Vendetta, technically, I guess, still.
Yeah. Yeah, Tony Storm and not Tony Storm, Donia Praza and Ty Valkyrie. You've got I'm sure they could they might be able to dig Mercedes Martinez up somewhere and team her up with Diamante.
They won that tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as I said, there's plenty of options out there. There's more than enough options to do like an 8-team tournament. I imagine, if it's up to me, I'd start the 8-team tournament with the first match at Wrestle Dream, and then run it until whether it's Full Gear or World's End. I'd say you probably do it for full Gear because you don't want it overlapping too much with the Continental Classic. You don't have too many tournaments going on at once.
Right. They should take care of this before that.
Yeah. But obviously they've got the pieces in place. You've got Statlander as champion, whoever she's going to defend it against, but then you've got the division wide open pretty much. You've got like Willow team with Harley because they're both seemingly a part of the conglomeration. There's plenty of options to go for. And also you've got relationships with CMLL and Stardom, bringing some teams there as well if they're interested in competing. So it's one of those things that I'm looking forward to this, but then also with the expectation it's not going to work. And the reason why I don't think it's going to work is not because of AEW and they're handling the women's division, although always that comes into some sort of consideration. It's because women's tag teams don't work in North America. They never have. Like every single women's tag team division title they've ever tried to put together always fails because they don't put enough attention into them. Exactly the same in WWE. WWE's women's tag team division is a failure, and the only thing they've ever done is just throw together two people together, and never really put too much effort into building actual tag teams. Yeah. If they do, they're always just beaten immediately by just throwing two random main eventers together.
Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair.
Alexa Charlotte Flair, Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Asuka and Alexa Bliss,
Lyra and Bailey.
Lyra and Bailey, Lita and Becky Lynch.
Hell, Sol Ruka and Zarya weren't a tag team until they just decided, let's put them against each other, then we'll just give them a tag team name that mixes the two of their names together, like Rybaxel.
Yeah. With that one, at least with some of them, they made an effort to actually make them like tag teams after that as well. But it's more of a case of, that division has never really been given any sort of real attention. And you can say the same thing with like a lot of WWE in general, like just generally with their tag team division, they rarely give tag team wrestling the same platform or desire to build feuds around. And then that's the issue with AEW as well, because I think they're doing well with the tag team division right now. I think they've done a good job of like rehabbing the teams, especially if you throw Jurassic Express back into the mix. And then but the trios division is stale, and it's been stale pretty much since the original series of matches to crown it. It's just been a bit like, okay, we'll just throw it on a team, and then they hold it for 6 months, defending it once every like couple of months, it seems like, and then they'll just switch it over in the same pattern repeats. So my worry is that's what's going to happen with the women's tag team titles, is that they're not going to be defended very often, and they're not going to be given a lot of focus or storyline involvement. But yeah, as like the onus is on AEW to prove me wrong. I just assume that's the way it's going to go, because that's the way it seemingly always goes with any women's tag team titles in North America, especially.
Yeah, I think Callum hit the nail on the head here. There's too many titles. I'm still waiting for my trios titles to just be like a bunch of random fun matches. You know, you've got so many great, teams that you could just throw in together for like a fun match. But I've realized that AEW is, I'm not going to say that they're becoming more like WWE, but they are shifting away from, hey, well, let's just throw a trios title match on Collision and, it'll be fun. They're becoming more streamlined, and in that, it's starting to feel like, okay, you've got way too many belts, because now you can't utilize them to the best of their abilities. So I'm not going to say urge to merge like Tony, but, you got to figure something out. Like, you got to figure something out there.
Sometimes there's an urge. Sometimes you gotta merge.
Some people do have an urge.
So, when we find out more information about who is actually in contention to fight for these belts, and when they're going to actually pull the trigger on crowning these new champions and everything along those lines, obviously we'll be covering that, and we'll give our predictions, and we'll talk about.
As a question then for it, just before we go off, then who would you out of all the options that are available, who would you either want or expect to be the first champions?
Heart and Sky.
I see, it's hard because I had up until Wednesday thought it would eventually just circle back to Willow and Stat, but
Down the line, they'll win those belts.
Yeah, I think Heart and Sky have a good shot at it. I'd like to see them potentially do something with Athena and Starks, but that's just because I'm big on Athena just getting the fuck out of Ring of Honor. You know?
What about you, Cal?
What about you?
I expect it to be Tony and Mina.
Would not shock me at all.
So I think if you, well, I know that's the reaction, but Tony is the biggest star of that division. You give that title to her first of all. It makes a lot of sense to give it to that, because that makes it feel like, okay, we are going to treat this as a big deal because we've given this on our biggest star straight away. So I think it'll be Tony and Mina. I would want it to be Tay-J. And I'm not even a big fan of Anna Jay, but I feel like they're kind of the original women's tag team of AEW. And so it feels fitting for them to be the first champions.
I agree. But Tony getting around to it, you want to do something real, you put Tony and Mercedes together, and then...
I'm married.
Well, do something about that.
I'll be sure to tell Caroline that.
No,
sorry, babe. Gotta be with Mercedes now. Should be like, at least go for Riho.
Yeah, that would be her reaction.
Yeah. Hey, she could join. So, I mean, a 2.5 hour episode of the Hot Tags, and then you're going to get another episode of the post-show pay-per-view point stuff tomorrow. NXT No Mercy is the next time you're going to be hearing from us, so obviously stay tuned for that. Got SmackDown tonight and live coverage of the TNA Victory Road event, so I'm still doing a lot of stuff. I still have to go grocery shopping too. But share your support across the board for Smark Out Moment, even for Fanboys Anonymous too, especially like I mentioned before. If you show more support for the Pokemon concept or anything else literally under Fanboys Anonymous, then I will do more there, because the more I would love more support for that brand and then be able to do more of that stuff. the link tree that you can find at amagotree.com has all your links for all those things, including my own personal links. And I should also follow what Callum and Rob are up to.
Yep. You can follow me everywhere at Dude Felice and check out Fightful.com.
You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at WeGuys14. Check out the Power Rankings every Saturday over on smarkatmoment.com, where I rank the WWE superstars based on their previous week's performances. And then head on over to the Fantasy League, also at WWEFantasyLeague.com, to see how our rosters are doing after Tony won the latest predictions contest for Wrestlepalooza.
He's
double up those points, Seth Rollins.
Yeah, so he's doubled up the points of Seth Rollins. He's taken the additional 25 points bonus for that being his 4th prediction victory. And then he's also made the trade of taking out Jacob Fatu and bringing in someone off the top of my head. Where's the list?
I don't even fucking remember.
Not to.
Yeah, who the hell did I grab? I think it was somebody from the women's division, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I think you put in. Believe it's Oscar. I think you brought in for that.
No, I think I got.
Yeah.
I don't think I brought in Oscar. I think it was somebody else.
Oscar is on your team now, so I presume you did.
No, I think it was somebody else that I swapped in for that, but I think I brought Oscar in before when I thought that she was potentially going to win the championship before they announced Stephanie and whatever. It was I swapped her for AJ Lee.
Oh yeah,
right.
That's what it was. Right. Yeah, because I'm like kind of assuming that she might win that women's intercontinental title. So
no, you brought AJ Lee in before Wrestlepalooza.
Did I?
So you probably did trade for Asuka.
Yeah, I know you did, because she got points for Wrestlepalooza, which she wouldn't have done if you traded her afterwards.
Oh, so then maybe it was Bronson Reed? Maybe?
Yeah, it was Bronson Reed. Yeah, I think that might have been the right one.
Just because I'm assuming that he was going to win at Wrestlepalooza. And
you saw Judge Batu out for Bronson Reed. Yeah, so Bronson Reed's on your team now.
Potentially more matches heading into War Games.
Yeah.
War Games. Yeah. All right. Well.
Yeah, that's what the rosters look like now. So just follow along on the fantasyleague.com to see how things are shaping up and who's going to be picking up points heading into Crown Jewel.
Keep in mind too the tier list rankings that are up. We did 3 out of the 4 of them already. So join the $5 tier and higher, and get yourself access to that in advance because they are being pushed off until October something or other. And then it's not going to be all in one shot. It's like October 5th or something, and then like the 8th and the 12th, or I don't remember when the hell I scheduled them. But show your support for that. All support is greatly appreciated, including tuning into NXT No Mercy coverage on tomorrow night. Adios for now, though, everybody. Thank you for leaving your comments below. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.